Hello and welcome to the 70th edition of Random or Nintendo. I'm Jason, and I'm happy to report we have successfully extracted Angel from the Maid Cafe. So, to my virtual left, alive and well, is Angel.
No protection needed. I escaped. I worked hard for that. Had to assimilate.
I mean, I was trying to
Had to
bolster
basically-
ourselves and our skill set, but if you want to take the true credit that I was trying to steal, go for it. Yes, you escaped.
The funny thing is that, hyperbole aside and Maid Cafe antics and all of that, there did end up being a little bit of rescuing. We'll just use that word. But
Well, hold on. Before we get into that, there's
But
also
yeah,
Kevin
but
here.
it-
Let's
but
not
yeah,
leave out Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello. We actually found Angel in the Lawsons, high off of Maid Cafe tea. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's funny how we each have a different version of the story. It's up to the listener to
Literally.
decide what is the true story.
and here is the
But yes, he was
floor.
in Lawson checking out one of their many Kirby collabs they've had over the years. High off the tee, yeah. But anyway, Angel, sorry, you were saying that rescuing was in fact somewhat needed?
A little bit. At the end of the day, it's just, providing peace of mind for all parties involved. But, I mean, I guess, do I just jump into it? How have you been? I mean, I haven't seen you
Yeah, I
guys in a
guess we
while.
could-
I mean,
yeah,
I've
well,
been high off
That's
of,
true.
Maid Cafe tea. I mean,
Yeah.
I did listen to the
Well-
episode. Besides the Maid Cafe bit, I'm trying to remember what you guys talked about.
I spent a long time talking about the Switch 2.
The Naruto running movie.
Yes,
Weapons.
Yes,
There we go. Yeah,
great movie. Still great. 2 weeks later, still great. What didn't age?
You watched it
from
again
that
2 weeks
episode-
later, and you're like, "Yep."
No, I just have the
Still
same
good.
opinion 2 weeks later. What didn't age as well is I went into a spiel about the state of the Switch 2 and how Nintendo didn't put their best foot forward necessarily with the first wave of announcements after it came out, and I still stand by that. But I made a comment like, we don't know anything about Kirby Air Riders. We don't know anything about Metroid Prime 4. And granted, they could flood the zone and, tell us things, but as of right now, we know nothing. And then fast forward 5 days, and Nintendo did exactly that. They flooded the zone. They gave us a 45-minute Sakurai Direct. They had it playable at, multiple events. So, goes to show how sometimes these podcasts are very time sensitive because 5 days later, everything I said about Kirby was not true anymore. So,
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
all
thought that
know
was kinda
it's
funny.
also like when you say something, you tend to manifest things into existence. So,
which is great because I want a pet Bidoof. So let's get on that, science.
and then your next cat is named Bidoof.
His name Bidoof. Yeah,
I mean,
but
I
what
could totally
were
see
we
that
talking about
happening.
before?
Like,
yeah,
you
the
get a
last
cat,
episode.
you name it some normal cat name, but ultimately it's nicknamed Bidoof, and it just ends up just being called Bidoof. But yeah.
I mean, Rachel calls me Bidoof when I do something dumb, so the name's already out there in our household.
Wow, so you were Bidoof all along.
I've been a Bidoof all along, yeah. But that's enough about me. Well, Angel, we're going to get deep into everything going on with you. But Kevin, anything new since you and I last spoke?
No, I actually just came back from my first ever live in-person fantasy football draft. This is the second league that I've ever been into. It's a long and tedious process. It was 12 of us,
The
and we went
20s?
15 rounds out of 20. We decided to call it at... Originally, we were going to call it at 16, but then we were like, no, let's just go to 15. It's very much a different experience from just doing it online, because online it's so much quicker. We did set time limits for every person to make their pick. But anybody who's ever done fantasy football knows that once you get to maybe the 10th, maybe even the 9th or 8th round of picks, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to players. So it just got to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to auto draft at this point, because at this point, who cares who I get? But yeah, it was a fun, different experience. It was with a bunch of coworkers, who will not be coworkers of mine come next week.
Oh, yeah. Home stretch before you leave your current gig.
Yep, exactly 1 week.
You excited?
Everybody keeps asking me if I'm excited. Quite honestly, I'm not. Not that I don't know how to describe it. It's just I'm sort of blasé about it. Quite honestly,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, I guess make the best of the last week because those are going to be the final memories.
Yeah. So yeah, it's mainly just passing down everything that I do and everything that I know to my assistant manager at work, and I hope that I have given him all the knowledge that he needs to make a successful transition. But we will see about that.
Is it going to be one of those things where they still have your number if he has questions after the fact?
Yeah.
I'm for 2 weeks later, still going to be answering stuff for him.
I'm absolutely going to be like, hey, if you need anything, just like he has my personal number, so
Yeah.
just like hit me up
Good
if
way
you have
to
any
do it.
questions. Yeah, I'm not just going to let him drown,
Right. Because you're a thoughtful guy.
Regardless,
Unfortunately, I
congrats
this year,
and-
for next year,
Unfortunately.
for next year, my New Year's resolution is to be a little bit more selfish next year. I want to be a little less generous.
Put
One
you
way to say.
first.
I'm going to put me first, and then we'll see.
There you go. Well,
I've actually done that a little bit this year. Not like, no, I guess this counts. Like, essentially, not always choosing to not always attend every social gathering if I didn't feel like it, or if I just felt like keeping the day to myself, essentially. But I know there's like different tiers of that, but it's a start. Because sometimes,
but it's putting yourself first. It's self-care in a way. Making sure you're good.
I guess that pretty much
before
is just
worrying about
self-care.
others,
Yeah. Sometimes, just not mentally recharged. Like, I don't even think I'm going to do anything for my birthday again this year. I think I'm just going to just chill. Last year was kind of nice. I think I still need another year before I could do any kind of thing. Because, honestly, like, I do want to... Whatever I do, and historically, it's more than just like, I just pick a theme, like, Ninja Turtles, and we watch a screening of a movie. But it's also as much about... I want to also do something that will be as fun as possible for everybody else. So it is a very socially, mentally draining. Just planning the trip to Japan with like the family. And I usually want to one up myself. And I think my very ambitious thing that I want to do, because I want to go all out on the presentation, is like a game show of sorts. But I definitely need to get that set up. And to, create a game that makes sense, because obviously it'll be about me, but I want the questions to be either formulated in a way, the people to be grouped in a way, because there are now like multiple tiers of friends that would go, like, are the college group and the group that I guess basically has known me my whole life, and the more recent group, like maybe they'll be put into smaller groups. Maybe the questions will not be as trivial as like, what is Angel's least favorite game, and more like, what would Angel do in the situation, or something like, like more how well do you know him, as opposed to how many facts do you know, because that just depends. But maybe the mixed group thing does work. I don't know why I'm just like soundboarding off like what I would do for my birthday, but because that wouldn't even be this year for sure. That would be at earliest next year. But all that to say, congrats, Kevin, and hopefully you get a good draw in coworkers, and just like I guess the work environment, because it's always going to be a change, and you don't get to pick who you work with, and then you get some awesome people. Maybe you get some new
So do I.
fantasy football peeps with some new other people.
Appreciate the words.
Maybe you'll get a Jason that will only talk about Nintendo financials.
Let's not get carried away here.
Oh, just wait till you get a Jason later in this episode, because we have a lot to get through with Angel, who just came back from Japan legitimately, but I had my own adventures around LA. I did like a DIY Comic-Con almost, between a bunch of panels one day and then a Pokemon event the next day. So we'll get to that and me talking. But Angel, you touched on like, the idea of putting yourself first and not playing Japan for your family. And that was basically your trip you just came back from, is you went solo to Japan, did some Nintendo stuff, did some not Nintendo stuff. But boy, how was it? Any highlights? Any medium lights? What do you want to talk about?
You don't have to talk about the Maid Cafe. We already did that for you.
Yeah, we already took care of it, and the tea. So you're fine on that.
Definitely saved me some time. But that's a good point, because that is definitely something I think I'd say I normally wouldn't do. Um, I would usually try to include someone else, make it a group thing, but it just felt like it was time to take a solo trip. Um, the goal wasn't to visit every major Nintendo spot. I did not, or go to every Pokemon Center, or nerd out on a bunch of things. It was literally to go with as minimal of a plan as possible and just kind of hang out in Japan. And I like to think I achieved that. Honestly and sincerely, like, getting the chance to go to the Nintendo Museum was cool, but I also kind of wish that would just happen on a different trip. I almost kind of regretted applying for the lottery because it just added this extra thing in the middle that I had to like kind of plan around, and it leaded to
It's
it.
also like in the outskirts of Kyoto, right? Like it's not like super where everything else is. Am I wrong?
Mm, It's not. It's actually not that bad.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, it's closer to the center of Kyoto than you would think. It's like I think like 30 minutes at that.
Oh,
So
that's not that bad.
yeah, but
But,
like
but you did go.
yeah, like that being said, like obviously, like I don't regret it. I'm happy I went. Like a lot of great things came from that. But yeah, but the thesis of the trip was to hang out with myself, to become as disconnected as possible from everybody. Of course, like I'll chime in, say hi, message the family, let them know I'm okay. But for the most part, and what I did do like was go to coffee shops, just draw for my heart's content. The nice thing is that it wasn't even like, oh, I'm gonna go to the coffee shop today and draw. It was just, what do I feel like doing today? Like, what's the vibe? And a lot of times I really do just feel like drawing, and I'm really happy that my default when I am in a very relaxed state is just to want to draw a lot, which was really fun. I haven't posted any of those drawings yet on Twitter. I was planning to. I still plan to. I'll probably just put
I
them
think
in
you
two
mean
giant
Instagram.
Instagram. Yes, I'm still like mentally recovering from the trip. A lot of stuff happened. We'll get to that in a sec. But surface level, really great. I think I did achieve what I wanted. The first 2 days of the trip was actually kind of like easing into the trip because it just happened to overlap with a coworker that also happened to be going to Japan during that same time. So we hung out that day, and that's when we actually went to Hashi 84, which is like a hidden cafe run by an retired Nintendo employee. That
I'm so every time. I mean, you showed me a few photos. You mentioned it to me. I am so jealous of this.
and this
So jealous of this. Yeah.
honestly was kind of. I feel like I got more of like a, oh man, Nintendo's awesome kind of feeling from this than the Nintendo Museum. I think it was.
Interesting.
I think part of it is just like the. I guess this is more like, you see more of like the people impact because it's just a bunch of drawings on the wall. We heard a lot of like personal stories from when the owner was a developer, like from the friends he made along the way. Like it's about the friends he made along the way. Like the Pokemon creator comes in a lot and like hangs out with them, and they draw pictures. They have like a giant Psyduck collection because he claims ownership of Psyduck. He finds all the butts of all the Psyduck plushies. And the art was amazing. The miscellaneous collectibles. They also just had like a bunch of collectibles in the Nintendo Museum there. But it's basically a lot of like one of a kind stuff that you wouldn't see at the Nintendo Museum in some cases.
Including, correct
Mainly
me if
the
I'm wrong, a
art.
piece by Miyamoto, right? Didn't Miyamoto draw something for them?
Yeah, Miyamoto. There's something by.
So jealous.
There's some
Anuma,
Anuma.
I think.
Yeah, there's Anuma stuff there. There's
Yeah.
Sakurai stuff there. There's Toby Fox stuff there. There. Toby Fox's personal producer gave us essentially like a detailed rundown of every single piece of like art and important merch that was at that cafe, which took a while, but you could tell he's done it many times and he does it for fun, wearing like his lab coat full of signatures. And then they have like a bar there. They served up drinks. They had a TV running like old Japanese like Nintendo game ads. So we saw like a Donkey Kong Country one, and then yeah, they had a bunch of like crazy Earthbound merch. So it was really cool. And then like I guess the person that designed Pikachu designed the mascot for that cafe. So I got a little keychain of that little character. And when you know that and you look at the character, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I could see the similarity. Oh man, the similarities. I did catch a cold when I came back.
Well, while you recover from that cough, just for real quick context for folks who haven't heard of this cafe and why I'm so jealous, this thing used to basically be like the hangout Nintendo employees go to, and it used to be invite only, and it's just like, from my understanding, not very large place, full of this unique memorabilia and art and creative energy. And I guess, did they start opening it up to limited reservations? Is that how you got in?
Yeah, essentially, there is a link you could find online, and they have like, I guess like 12 reservation spots per day for I think like a handful of days of the week, and there's only like 2 time slots, so like maybe like 20 something people per day can go. And you meet with someone, they give you like directions like, oh, go find this like Google signage, and then once you look for the person there with the shirt and everyone is accounted for, then they walk you to the cafe. And then it's like, now that I know where it is, actually, I could maybe find it. But it's very nondescript. Like, there's like no signage anywhere for it. You have to go like inside like a building, go to like some odd floor, and then there's still no signage, and they have to like wait to be right on the dot, and then they knock on the door, and then they open it, and then they let you in. So it's like very...
It's like a Nintendo speakeasy.
Yeah, and they emphasize like, like don't tell the people like where it is, but
like
definitely,
yeah.
But definitely come back. Definitely invite others. They love having the visitors. They have like a signing book, which I would have drawn a much bigger picture. I guess had I been more selfish, but I didn't realize I could be more selfish, because the day I think I was the first one to sign it, and I picked a considerate size to draw a little cockatiel and sign my name. And everyone else kind of like followed suit. But then their official Instagram will post a picture of all the visitors for the day. So you should be able to find a picture of me if you just find Hashi 84
cool.
and just go back enough. Then you can see like what I drew on the book. But then the next day, I saw that they drew like a big old picture of Link or some character, and I'm like, oh, I could have taken up a whole page. Oh well, next time.
What if that someone was one of the designers of Link?
The cool thing is that like they have some merch that you could buy as well. Like Hashi, it also means chopsticks. They have some like special chopstick tongs that you could get. They had a bunch of carefully curated, memorabilia that you could purchase, and including a passport, which was what I was going to buy because I just like the practicality of it. But then they just ended up giving everybody there a passport and stamped it and signed it with the day that we visited, and encouraged us to come back. So with our passport, so that we could get it stamped again. And apparently they have, merch in tiers for how many times you've visited that is only available to those people that have come back multiple times. So I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So
that is cool.
Yeah. And yeah, so that was like a fun day, hung out with that coworker, fun day. Next day, hung out with an old college friend. And that was also really fun. That was the day that we kind of like explored Shibuya, and where else did we go? We very briefly went to Shinjuku, just to look for some like Godzilla merch. But then I think went to Ikebukuro after. But yeah, Shibuya was fun. Went to Nintendo store, got my Diddy Kong coin pouch with just amazing merch because the tail is like the strap, and it's perfect size. It's amazing. I love it so much. And we also went to a place called Mandrake, which is like a chain of just collectible memorabilia. It's like a resale store, kind of like Book Off, but you can apparently buy, like, I used to remember walking down one of the aisles and seeing like, oh, Ninja Turtles, and my friend's like, no, and then I looked through them and it's like, I forgot what the term for it is. Maybe Kevin, but it's like incest romance, or it was just like,
excuse me, why would I know this?
It was not because I know you read it. It just seemed like something you would just like know, like, oh, this
I
genre.
would just know the incest romance. Thank you.
Maybe
not a judgment of character.
Maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be incest, but it was just like, oh, they just shipped.
Well, then that's just romance. So
yeah, we'll just call it romance.
You went from too specific to too broad.
Well, Well, they had, it was like, oh, what if, like, I think they paired off, like, Michelangelo and Donatello, Raphael and Leonardo, or sometimes it's just all four of them together. But there
Oh
was,
goodness.
yeah, one was just straight up a script. Like, the different versions, like 2003 Turtles, Nickelodeon CG 2012 Turtles. Like, yeah, every, lot of turtle romance in that section. But, yeah,
The
that
internet
was,
come to life,
yeah,
or certain corners of the internet come to life.
pretty much. And that's like how the trip started. Like I kind of eased into it by just regularly scheduled. I mean, more traditional scheduled events with friends, just kind of hanging out. Got some food. But then after that point, I was basically on my own. I think I had about a week before the trip to Kyoto. I just sometimes went to Tower Records, just hung out there, looked through almost every single CD in the anime and video game section, found some interesting stuff. Ultimately, didn't buy anything and didn't feel guilty for it. It was just that kind of freedom that I feel like I never really appreciated until you go by yourself. Because, like, I, when I, if myself and someone else are going, you know, shopping or something, and they want to look at something, I'm a very patient person. Like, I want to emphasize to them, like, oh, take your time. Like, you know, check as long as you want. But if they tell that to me, I can't stop thinking about, like, oh man, am I taking too long? Like, are they bored already? So, like, I will still rush, even if they tell me not to rush. So, just that, but during the whole trip, it's just kind of like really nice. And, we get to Kyoto, go to the Nintendo Museum. I decided to um, find a hotel to get 2 extra nights in Kyoto, just so I don't have to rush back, just so that I can just relax. The hotel ended up being super nice. They had their own private like theater where they had played some short films, including some animated and foreign films. They served gin and whiskey directly to you as you're watching the movies, which was really nice. And they also had their own like sauna and onsen, which was like private one, which was really nice too. That was also just included. And walking distance from that hotel was Nintendo's like original playing card company building that Jason
Oh,
pointed me to.
I encourage you to go to this. Yeah,
Yeah, because that
The
was
original. It's the original factory from where they made the playing cards back in 1889. Yeah, and up
yeah,
till like 1920.
because I was gonna go to Nintendo Kyoto and I saw that it was only a 30-minute walk, and I'm like, oh, that's walking distance. That's awesome. And the place, that old factory, which is now a hotel, ended up
The
being like
boutique hotel.
like literally a halfway point. And I was like, wow, like it was like meant to be that I picked that place. So that was really cool. And the Nintendo Museum, the went there the next day, short bus ride, but yeah, the immediate area around the museum isn't anything really to talk about. So yeah, it's kind of empty. But
Well, it was previously a distribution center, like in the 90s or early 90s or something. So I imagine it's just kind of empty industry, like warehouse vibes,
not even warehouse. It's just no
or
buildings.
like commercial buildings and nothing else.
There was
Yeah.
it was just kind of like desolate with like the occasional like. It was like
Interesting.
the Nintendo building was next to a tiny section of the best I could describe like a first street of Little Tokyo, but only that one section of the street, and then the rest of it is just like really spread out suburbs with forests.
It's gonna be like when they build a new stadium and then the whole area around the stadium like rejuvenates over the next like 20 or 30 years. That's gonna be the Nintendo Museum in like the next couple decades. All those tourists coming through are gonna rejuvenate and revitalize that area, and it's gonna be gentrified or whatever. And yeah,
And yeah, and the museum itself was obviously really awesome, as you would expect. They had like Nintendo theming, like from the queue. It's pretty subtle outside because the building is just like a gray box. But as you enter the queue, you hear your Nintendo music. You see like the lockers, which each of which are like a different like Game Boy Color or no, yeah, Game Boy era game. And then just like Universal Studios, you have like the Warp Pipe photo op. They have like a Donkey Kong Jr. and a Mario on flagpoles in the distance, and there's like some hidden Pikmin in like the courtyard area. And they have like a cafe, which is for some reason not themed after anything Nintendo related. It's just the
so
museum cafe. It's just like vaguely video game related. or video game themed.
That's really bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a
Missed
separate building,
opportunity.
so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But then, the building proper is the museum, and like honestly, I won't spoil too much because like a lot of its charm is definitely like experiencing it for the first time. Like, so I won't say like much of how like you enter the spaces, but I will say like it's mainly, and this is I don't think anything new that you haven't seen in the video, but it's mainly comprised of like two floors, like the gallery, which is I'll get a little more into in a sec, the gallery and like the play area, which still has minor aspects of the gallery. But the gallery, with where you have like video displays and cartridges from like every era of Nintendo, sometimes grouped by console, sometimes grouped by character. Really neat, really cool. But you kind of go through it really fast, or at least I did. Like maybe, that's a key part, that when you're going by yourself and you don't have someone to like kind of talk about or reminisce about those things, your brain can process those things pretty quickly. So even though the Super Nintendo area was obviously really cool, it was like a big nostalgic, like emotional hit to see like 10 monitors playing, Donkey Kong Country and, like Mario World and Yoshi's Island, like all at the same time. And then same thing with the N64, same thing with the GameCube. It's like wow, it's like all the games that I grew up with, like literally blasted in my at my eyes,
In
like
your face.
yeah, like, and then the moment pan, then you just keep going. Like I think it took me like 40-ish minutes to get through that section. But
I do get what you mean about the museum though, because like when I was at Pokemon World, which I'll talk about after Done with Japan, they did have a little mini museum of Pokemon stuff, and I just kind of like cruised through it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I feel like if there's someone there to talk about the things with or observe certain things, that it's very easy to sink more time into.
yeah, because like a lot of it is like yeah, and honestly, like it's kind of funny. Like I feel like the more hardcore Nintendo fan you are, like I don't think there
the
was
less you'll get out of it.
yeah, like I don't think there was a piece of anything on display that I didn't already know exist or hadn't seen in some way. Except these are obviously like in mint condition, so it's like yeah, that's a cool Hello Kitty like DS. Oh yeah, those are cool different 3DS versions. Like it's cool seeing them all together. Like it's like it's more about the presentation than the thing. But then it's like yeah, that's cool, and then you just kind of keep going.
Well, to your point about how
and
the
there's like
cafe had like the
there's like no
creators.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Isn't the Nintendo Museum just kind of like a product showcase, right?
Yeah,
Like it
and
never
that's the
talks
thing.
about who made the game. It never talked, from my understanding.
Yeah,
It never, like,
and that's why I called it more
dives
of
into it,
like a
right?
gallery, because
uh-huh.
you kind of have to fill in the blanks yourself. Like I mean, yeah, it isn't that straightforward. I mean, it isn't that difficult. It's like, oh, this game came first, then this game. Like it's all in order. There are numbers and dates, and on occasion there's like some little text that says not released in U.S. or not released outside of U.S. or something. But
do they have like design documents or
no,
anything like
nothing. So it's like
that? The Nintendo store in New York even at one point had a level 1-1 design document on display, and I think it also has Splatoon original concept sketches at one point.
yeah, that's kind of what I was looking more for. Like a lot more concept art. I think at most like they might have done that for some of the really old things, but for the most part, you see the old toys they made before they made video games, a lot of the arcades. It's all really neat, but like I don't like outside of maybe one statue where I'm like, oh, I wonder where that Golden Mario statue was from, because it was just like there with no context.
Was
like,
it Golden Mario jumping?
No, it was like very short in stature. Like he looked, it was a very old design.
Oh, because there's the perfect Mario, which is a golden statue of him doing his one, leaping pose with one hand in the air, which is supposedly the perfect ratios of the character as the character models dictated to all the people that make Mario stuff. But I guess it's not that.
The perfect ratio.
The perfect Mario.
But yeah,
I think I saw it somewhere.
But I was kind of hoping to have more like, oh, that's cool moments where like where I learned something, which is where I got that a lot from the cafe. But and obviously because of what we know about Nintendo, like I was able to fit in a lot of those blanks, which it's cool. Like we're basically like our own like museum curators. And I will say,
yeah, that's true. We are. Did the interactive stuff, which I guess was all downstairs?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'll sort of supplement. Sorry,
yeah.
I hear you. Sorry.
Well, yeah. The only other thing I'll say about the top floor is one display that I really, really like, definitely my favorite display, is essentially in real time. Well, of course in real time, but kind of staggered. They had specific animations playing out from every single generation of the main 9 Pokemon games, playing from like left to right, starting with like red. Like they just picked one version, like red version, and then gold, and then ruby and sapphire. Like just all the way until the most recent one, scarlet and violet. And it was all like it would basically be Pikachu coming out of a Pokeball, but the video would be staggered enough that you could see them all back to back, so that you could see like how it looked on the Game Boy, then the Game Boy Advance, then the whatever came after. I think they actually had Coliseum on there, and then the Switch game, then the 3DS and all of that, and then Pikachu used Thunder in all of them, and then Pikachu defeated or Pikachu. Oh yeah, and then they caught the Pokemon in all of them. Like that was really cool. It was cool to see like just like a direct comparison to just like how the graphics have evolved, and I think seeing that
That's cool.
back to back, right next to each other, you could definitely see more of a jump than I feel it actually felt when the games were coming out, especially from like the 3DS era to the Switch era, where it didn't feel like there was much changes. It almost felt like, oh yeah, it looks like this exact same Pikachu model just in 3D. But seeing them back to back, it felt like, oh okay, there is definitely some more going on here. But yeah, going downstairs, interactive area, mainly comprised of like 3 different sections. Well, 4. There was like the faux living room areas where you could like hit some baseballs from the little baseball pitching machine that Nintendo made, which was really fun. Got to try that because that was single player, which I'll allude more to that soon. Actually, no, we'll just do that now. So that was the first thing I did because it was baseball fun, and it was something I could just jump into the line right when it went down. But then I tried to do the big controller thing because I'm like, yeah, why not try it? And as soon as I got in line, someone approached me and they're like, oh, do you have another person with you? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't. And they're like, sorry, then you can't get in line. And I'm like, what? Like, there's like no single rider option, or like, they just kind of pair you up. It's like, nope, you have to come with someone, or you have to, I guess, intentionally come in with someone. So I'm like, well, that's fine. Like, I wasn't like that disappointed. It was just more like, yeah, it's neat to try. But thankfully, there was someone else that was rejected, like maybe a couple seconds after me. So they caught up to me and they asked me like, "Oh, did you need a partner?" And so we teamed up and we got to play with the giant Wiimote, which was really cool. And surprisingly enough, yeah, during the line we chatted a bit, and turned out they actually really like Rhythm Heaven and Ace Attorney, which was really cool. So
And they're your new BFF.
yeah, so in the Nintendo Museum, like got to make an actual friend at the Nintendo Museum, which was
That's
really
cool.
neat.
Real quick context for folks who don't know what the big controller thing is, or who somehow didn't see the Nintendo Museum like video that Miyamoto toured people through. Basically, Angel kind of said giant controllers, but what's interesting is you're playing original, or actually emulations of original games from the NES, N64, Wii, whatever, but you're playing them on these obnoxiously large controllers. Like the Wiimote, it's like two of you are like playing with a seesaw, essentially. So for those who didn't quite know what you're referencing, that's that, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they also had like a shooting gallery where it's basically the Bowser Jr. kind of experience at the Universal, where you have like a really giant screen, and that giant screen has a bunch of targets. But instead of using your shadow, you have like a little light gun, and you're just like shooting, which looked neat. But I didn't really bother doing that. I think I got my fill from just watching people do it. The other thing that they had, which was definitely meant less, which would mean a lot less to us, I would imagine, is it was just demo stations. Like, here's a Super Nintendo playing Donkey Kong. Here is a S64 playing Star Fox. Here is the GameCube playing,
Oh, it was
Luigi's
Star
Mansion.
Fox? Wait, Star Fox 64 was museum quality?
I don't remember if it was exactly Star Fox. I'm just guessing it was.
I sure hope it was, because that really puts your views on Star Fox 64 firmly in their place. So I hope it was Star Fox.
But essentially, they had like a couple, like, they had a room full of consoles, and it's just like, yeah, play these old games. And yeah, I have access to all of those games, at least the ones I want to play. So it wasn't something I was going to stop to do. Something I didn't mention is that right when you enter, right when you enter, they print out your badge, which is based on whatever icon you pick from the Nintendo Museum website when you purchase your ticket. So you could have your me with whatever background color you want selected, or various preset Nintendo icons. And it's a cool little piece of plastic. It basically feels like,
Oh, it's plastic.
yeah, it feels like it's like plastic borders. Like the inside might be a little softer because I think it bends easily, but it's definitely not just like paper. It's like a little better than that. But yeah, essentially you use this to do the games. Like you basically, when you enter, you get 10 coins, and each thing costs anywhere from like 2 coins to 3 coins. Like the big controller costs like 3 coins to use. That baseball thing I mentioned costs like 2 coins to use. So, you can only do things for so long before you're out of coins, and then you basically have to like leave because there's like nothing else you can really do.
Yeah, I have a question about that. So it's a crowd control measure, not an upsell measure, right? Like you can't buy more coins. It's just a way to keep everyone's time in the museum
Limited.
within reason.
Yeah,
okay.
and you get more coins when the next time you visit. So
right, that makes sense. Okay.
And while I didn't get to do this, just because of the timing, what they also offered was like Hanafuda card, which are like the old Japanese playing cards. I'm not really sure how you play them, but they do have a workshop there that teaches you how to play them, as well as another workshop where they teach you how to draw a specific thing to paint the Hanafuda card, and you could take it home, which sounds cool. I probably would have done that if I was given a higher time slot, but I just picked 3 time slots in the same day and just kind of hoped that I would get that day, and that's the one that I got, like the last one. And then of course there's the gift shop, which I think I spent 40 minutes there, probably
as long as the entire gallery. Wow.
Yeah, because
that's funny.
Like even if I didn't buy a lot of stuff for myself, for myself specifically, I think I just bought like a lanyard and a shirt. I bought a lot of stuff for my brother. Then there was something for Jason, like a Nintendo Museum shirt. Because they were very limited on how many things you could buy per person. So, like, I didn't have a lot of allocation to get like everybody a Nintendo Museum specific shirt, or a Nintendo shirt that specifically said Nintendo Museum. But it is cool that they had, shirt, mug, pen, and pin, and a little miniature box of the console, that every single console from NES all the way to Switch 1, there was no Switch 2, like it was basically a miniature box that contains stickers of like popular games and stuff like that. So if you want to have a bunch of little tiny replica boxes that have stickers, they had that.
So replica box is like the Japanese box it came in, like the packaging?
Yeah.
Or like a box that looks like the console?
A box that looks like the box the console came in.
That's pretty cool. Did they only have the Japanese art, or did they do like the American and European versions too?
For the most part, I'm pretty sure almost all of them were like the Japanese ones. There were some that looked, maybe they were just the same in both countries, because like the 3DS one looked
like the Switch. Yeah,
the same. The Switch one looked the same, but I think there were some like the Virtual Boy looked different. But
right, or like Famicom versus NES. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, but that's cool that you have like a miniature row of all the original box art. I like that. Never mind the stickers inside. It's like the box concept. That's fun.
Yeah, the boxes are cool. But then, some of that stuff is like, if I really wanted to, I could print these. But, obviously it's nicer just to have them official. But I tried to lean more towards things that looked nice and premium and that we couldn't get there. Like a giant Wiimote plush that we have now. Because it's just...
How tall is it? What's the actual measurement on? Is it like 6 feet tall?
No, it's definitely not that tall. It's my 3-year-old niece is taller than it, but it's taller. Okay. But it's taller than my 2-year-old niece. So it's like 3
great
feet?
measurements, great measurement units here. Yeah,
the 3 feet tall.
That's still pretty tall. Yeah, significantly taller than a real Wii remote.
Yeah, it's a little. But yeah, I mean that was Kyoto. Eventually made my way back to Tokyo, where I spent the rest of like the vacation mainly relaxing, but not without a few bumps in the road. So at some point, I went back to Shinjuku where I got to properly take in the Godzilla statue, the Godzilla store, and then I also wanted to visit the Golden Guy, which is like basically like a very, very tightly packed condensed street of like
I've always
bars.
wanted to go to Golden Guy.
And oh man, yeah, you would enjoy it. It was super fun. Like I went to two different places, and well, two places that made it clear that they had someone that spoke English. But essentially, I was just like sitting in like what felt like a room half the size of my room. But I'm trying to, what would be a good
All these
measurement?
measurements you're doing,
A
heights
car.
of your nieces, the size of your room are super useful to everyone that isn't us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna use same one for you too.
No, I know. I'm just teasing.
but-
But it's funny reference points because only the three of us and maybe
imag-
like two listeners know what that means.
We got two listeners. They can figure it out. But anyway, yeah, like one of the bars you could say was maybe the size of like your average car. Just imagine like if you put a car in a tall box, that's how much space you have. So there's just enough room for like the bar itself. And for
Is
people
that as
to
small as
tightly
my
sit
car?
around. A little bigger.
Okay.
If
Okay, for reference again, for people beyond the three of us, Kevin's car is a Miata. So there's the size we're talking about. It's not like Kevin's like, is it as small as my Hummer? Like he has a small car.
but
I'm just filling in
don't-
context this episode. That's my whole purpose.
Don't size shame my Mazda Miata, okay?
No, your Miata is great, but so people know what scale you're talking here. You could be driving a big rig for all they know. So we have to specify.
And that was pretty fun. Got to essentially like chat with, the fun part was like trying to chat with locals. Like some of them knew a decent amount of English. Some of them knew very little English. So it was fun, like, like practicing with Japanese I did know to like tie, I guess like together the sentences so that, or I guess like the connection so that we can have a conversation, which was a nice challenge. And like I said, was nice just talking to so many friendly locals who all thought I was Brazilian. A lot of people thought I was Brazilian. One time they said they thought I was Brazilian because I asked them like, oh, what makes you say that? And they pointed at my shirt, which did have green, yellow, and white, but it was also like a Godzilla shirt that was like replicating or parroting like evacuate now cutesy Japanese like signs that you would see if there was
From
like,
Comic Con, from Super 7 at
yeah,
Comic-Con.
that one.
Yeah. I was
So I'm all like, they
I was
didn't
with him
recognize
when he
Godzilla?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't.
Well, he's all cutesy. Like it's like chibi Godzilla inside a fake, like happy-go-lucky, like warning construction PSA sign. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So at some point, that is in Shinjuku, and if any of you have been to Japan, and especially Shinjuku, you know that for whatever reason, the subway system, or at least to get to the JR line in Shinjuku, it is like a maze down there. Like, yeah, there are a lot of signs, but it just takes so long to get there that you typically will doubt if you're going the right way at least once or twice as you're leaving and entering. Like, I don't think I came out of that subway from the same exit like more than once because like it was just so long. It's like, wait, did I go this way? I'll just keep on this until I'm out. But long story short, throughout this trip, I've been using I downloaded a Suica card on the phone, like through Apple Pay, to use with Apple Pay, and that was incredibly convenient. Just tap at the subway entrance or the little turnstile, and then just go in, take the train to wherever, and when you get out, just tap it again, and it just deducts the amount from the prepaid amount you set, and that was just amazing. But point is, this time, and unfortunately, it did happen multiple times where I noticed I had left my backpack open, but essentially this time, because I was like, oh, I already know how to get to the subway, like I don't even need my phone. Put my phone in my bag, but I left the bag open. At some point, it either fell or got pickpocketed. This area of Shinjuku is like right next to a place called like Kabukicho, which is notoriously like more seedy, where it's like not uncommon for something to potentially get pickpocketed, but essentially, that's also where Godzilla lives. So it's like, Godzilla.
It's dangerous. It's known for
Where
being
Godzilla
dangerous.
lives, everyone. Where Godzilla lives, because he's a real thing.
Well, I also did realize
But yeah, the really cool statues there. Yeah.
I did realize I bought 0 Godzilla anything when I was in Japan. So maybe it was a Godzilla way of telling like me to, you know, to take my problems elsewhere. But any point is, my phone was not in my bag when I got to the turnstile, so I had to go back to the maze, basically retrace my steps, and it was already really late. And I'm like, crap, it's dark. I can't find anything. And to kind of like bring things back to the beginning, I wanted to be disconnected, so I didn't bring my iPad. I literally just had my phone and my Switch 2 as far as electronics. So I didn't have an immediate device to track my phone, to log into any messaging apps. And if I tried, I did try, like I was able to borrow someone's phone a few times. Everything just had double two-factor authentication, so I just couldn't get into anything, even if I had access to the internet.
That's
so
of all ways to lose a phone and times to lose a phone.
Then I was also this was also halfway through the trip, mind you. This was like was like day 8 of like 15. And it was there was a moment of like, you know, shoulda, coulda, like what, can't believe this happened, but that went by pretty fast. I want to say like almost right away, I'm like, you know what, like, you know, this happened. What are our options? I'm not gonna let this ruin my trip. Let's just like, you know, what does this mean? Am I
great
actually
attitude to have about it?
Like, you know, like do I have what's important? Yes, I didn't lose anything else. I still had everything. I still knew when my flight was, what time it was, what airline it was. So that was all fine. I figured I didn't even need my confirmation number because I could just print the boarding pass with my passport or something. But my family and other friends were messaging me regularly, and I would respond typically regularly. Like I was kind of on my phone a fair amount. But now that I didn't have it, I'm like, oh man, like I kind of at least want to like tell them that I'm okay, but to not expect me to respond much because I'm not gonna.
That would be a great thing to know.
Yeah, that way they're like, huh, he hasn't responded in 2 days, and he's traveling in Japan by himself. You know, it can only
literally of all times and ways to lose a phone, like traveling solo is definitely probably the scariest. I mean, it sounds from everything you've said here, and I know separately, you've taken it in stride, which is commendable. Yeah, some people just completely melt down. But
so I went to some police boxes, what they call them. Chatted with some police, asked them like what they suggest. They pointed to a couple like Professor Oak Pokemon looking telephones. They're like basically phone booths because they're green and big, and they look just like the Pokemon
do they ring
ones.
Like a Pokemon phone?
No,
they do like the ring, phone call. No?
They look just like them, except they don't have a screen. But yeah, they said that they could do overseas calls, and I tried every combination on there, but it looks like it's limited to what carrier the person you're trying to call overseas has, and the options they listed there were not ones that people I knew had, and I only realized this was the case because I still tried every combination. Because when I was at the airport, right before leaving back home, I saw another one of those phones. And I saw that one had an option that the other ones didn't, which was carrier. It just said cell phone or cable or other. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I tried that, and it just worked immediately. Like I was able to reach my brother. But this was like 6-7 days later. At that time when the phone was lost, the next day, you know, I did like a search during the morning when it was emptier. Nothing. I decided to then go back, and around this time it was like maybe evening for the United States. So I'm like, okay, I do have a Switch 2 and it has voice chat. If I can get a hold of anybody that has a Switch 2 that has my brother's number, then we're good. And I knew that Jason at least had the Nintendo app, and I knew that if I keep canceling the voice chat and reactivating it, it's going to keep pinging them. So I did that to a bunch of people. I just threw the widest net possible. And I did get 2 bites before I got Jason. One was like a friend who had the number of another friend who I knew had my brother's number. So I was able to at least like get a message out to Elvis that way that he didn't seem to get immediately. Which is why I kept trying. I did then get a hold of another friend who was able to let other friends know that the situation I was in, because those people were, regularly like checking in, like, oh, how's it going, blah blah blah. Like especially one of them being the coworker I was traveling with, just so they knew that like I wasn't just like ghosting them. But eventually, Jason answered while my brother was online, but because they hadn't set up Nintendo Switch voice chat, it was like basically banging on soundproof glass while he's on the other side playing
They being
Donkey Kong.
Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Jason eventually answered, and he's like, "Oh, you want to play a game?" And I'm all like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
dude, okay,
text
I did
Elvis."
feel though,
And I'm
again,
like, "Text
I'm the
Elvis right
context guy
now.
this
Tell him
episode.
to get on the thing."
Hold on. Context again, real quick. I'm the context guy. Angel once told me early on in the Switch 2's life, hey, I'm just going to hop on game chat and just invite people, and I'll just be playing Mario Kart or whatever, and if you see it, consider it like a gentle ping to come play. So I was getting these throughout the day, and I was like, huh, he must be just setting up different rooms or something, but I'm not home, so I can't do anything. And then finally when I got home, I'm like, all right, I haven't talked to him in a few days. He's in Japan. I'll hop on Mario Kart. So I get on, and I'm like, literally, he's like, hey. And I'm like, hey, you ready to play some Mario Kart? And he's like, no. I'm like, wait, what? And that's when the reality sunk in. But yeah, I really thought you were just like setting up Mario Kart 8 times over in the span of 6 hours.
Yeah, it was
so
an SOS.
Completely blindsided by the reality of it.
And then from there, the rest of it, we played a little bit of detective work because now we had my brother on the call. We were able to, and because he was playing Bonanza, regularly around the same time, it was easy enough to check in with him like every day until at least we had enough interactions that we were like, okay, I think we're good until I'm back home. But long story short, he was able to use my iPad to track my phone, which happened to be like between like a building like called like the Samurai Restaurant, Gira Gira Girls, and like some Casablanca other cafe or something. And I go there, which wasn't like too far from where I was, and I'll go for it. Oh, no, I thought you were saying something. But long story short, I don't know how many times I've said that already. I asked them if they had my phone. They said no, that no one brought any phone there. But then I told them like, well, according to like the the map data that's active right now. Yeah, the Find My, the phone should be roughly in this area, like, in the corner, so like between the buildings. And that's when they were like, oh, well, over there is actually like a place where phones end up from tourists that get lost or stolen. And then they're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't go there. It's like in the 3rd floor. But I kind of started like walking in that direction, and they like stopped me, and they're like, no, it's dangerous. Like, don't go there. And they all were also like very reluctant to go up there.
I like how they told you, oh, you probably shouldn't go, and you're like, meh, I'm gonna try anyways.
And then they're like, no, that probably was real.
Maybe I'll get lucky. But yeah, like they're like the woman that was helping me, they even called their manager, and he like went up like a flight or 2 stairs, and then he came back down, and he's like, yeah, sorry. But it seemed like it was no coincidence that it happened, that the location where the phone says it was also where phones are gathered. So at that point, it became clear that at the very least, it's like a lost cause, or at the very least, not worth putting anyone through that trouble. I could have called up my friend that lives in Japan or something, but I'm like, no, I don't want to. That's not their. I don't want to put them through that. And it was easy enough to just. I already had like mentally checked the phone off, so we just nuked it. Not literally.
Back on game chat. Yeah.
Yeah, went back.
Game chat.
Yeah,
See, I feel like you're glossing over the logistics of how game chat saved.
Well, yeah, because obviously I didn't have my phone at this point, so I had to go back to the internet cafe.
Coordinated like.
Yeah,
so you went to an internet cafe, and we synced up a time that would work for you and folks on this end, and we all got on game chat. Like Elvis and I was playing backup if it was needed, and although you guys ended up doing it without me like half an hour earlier, which is good. You got it dealt with, but like we're like, okay, Elvis is at the iPad. We're on game chat. We're gonna read off like the verification number, so you in the internet cafe can type it in on iCloud.com, so you can open Find My, so you can see where it is, and then print the map. And again, this was all through game chat. Nintendo, the company who always said, we don't do voice chat, just use your phone, ended up being the thing that was like clutch when you lost your phone. Like the irony of it.
Yeah, honestly, strong. I don't know. But, I don't know how I would have done it, especially in the internet cafe, because I needed an extra device to like facilitate communication while I was on the internet, because there was literally no way for me to use any internet app to talk to y'all.
Yeah.
And then, use my iPad to wipe the phone, and the phone was basically gone at that point. I got my emails saying that, the cards had been removed. Thankfully, nothing was abused or anything. It was just gone. And that was that.
And meanwhile, Elvis and I then proceeded to have a lovely Mario Kart session after we got off the thing with you.
And honestly, like, that last half of the trip without my phone was really nice. Like, yeah, it sucks that I lost the phone, but just kind of, like, I had been to Japan so many times that navigating the subways was really easy. It was fun just exploring. I went to the movies 4 times. I saw the upcoming Demon Slayer movie early. I saw a Shin-chan movie where he saves India. I saw Elio in Japanese, and then I saw like a trippy stop motion sci-fi post-apocalyptic movie called like Junk World, which was really interesting. It was like a comedy thing. But yeah, loved going to the movies. It was just what I felt like doing. And yeah, just ate some good food and just kind of chilled.
Did you end up getting any device for the second half? It sounds like you didn't. You didn't get a sort of supplementary cheap tablet phone thing?
No, at that point, I just felt I just was just going to double down on a connection. That being said, though, that wasn't the end of the trouble. So like 2 days later, after the nuking of the phone, I was in Tokyo, so like later in the day. And I was, even though like, I was taking things slow, there was a stoplight that was like blinking. Well, not a stoplight, like a walk, like, you can walk now, but the sign is blinking, so it's about to change. And I had started walking, but for some reason, part of me thought like, oh, maybe I should wait, like just another cycle. But I'm like, nah, I should just go. Like I just tried to run across because I didn't want the cars to wait, and ended up like losing my balance. And keep in mind, it's also summer, so it was like very hot. I bought like a very nice new comfy wardrobe to keep myself cool, and some like 2 pairs of really nice Japanese sandals. The point is, I was wearing one of those pairs of sandals, and when I lost my balance, I started like, kind of leaning forward, trying to catch myself, and you tend to speed up when that happens, and I ended up kicking the curb and like basically cutting off like the top layer of like my toe, and there was like blood everywhere, and then I fell on my knee, but I caught myself with my hands.
Jeez.
and basically ended up bruising my hands pretty badly, and thankfully didn't hit my head, but I was like kind of shook, wasn't really in pain. Everything just felt kind of hotter than the temperature already was, but
just like adrenaline at that point.
Yeah, but thankfully, like, there were some people nearby, and one of them like helped me up, and in Japanese they're like, "Daijoubu with this guy," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." Well, I responded in Japanese, and they pointed me to just like a drugstore, because just like Family Marts and such, there's just drugstores like all over the place where you get your antibiotics and all that kind of stuff. So
Kevin,
I was able to get the stuff.
The Lawson's comment at the top. He went to a Family Mart.
So then I had to grab some stuff. I was already like kind of getting ready to head back, but this just kind of like made me head back earlier and kind of patch myself up a little as best as I could. But yeah, and there was the next day after that was kind of rough because I was basically limping. My hands were still hurting.
Jeez.
And I was able to ask like the receptionist like if there's like a little clinic or something nearby. So I had to walk like maybe I think it was like a half mile. They drew on a physical map where the clinic was, like with a line pointing to where we were and where a line pointed to where it was.
Oh, right, because this was all happening without a phone.
Yeah.
As if you didn't already have. So this is compounding on top of the exist. That's crazy. Okay,
yeah. So it's funny because like, even though there was still more limping, and then like my leg was like super sore from the muscles I guess I was using from the limping. Yeah, like there was a day where I couldn't really leave the hotel, which was fine. Like that day I just kind of stuck around the area and just took in the farmland where I was staying at. But, it forced me to take things even slower. Had to obviously walk at a much slower pace than I was used to and just chill. So yeah, that sucked. But it was also nice.
Yeah.
It didn't ruin my trip. And then I made my way back, and I got that cold, and, the family was already privy to my fall thanks to the Switch 2. But then, like my foot wasn't looking great. And then I'm like, it's been a week and my hand is still hurting. But my left hand is still hurting as much as the day I fell, but my right hand isn't. Like that one feels fine. So I got an X-ray. They said nothing was wrong with it. Got an MRI not too long ago, actually. So we're still like in the in between, figuring out exactly what's wrong. But they sent me the MRI report through email. I fed it into ChatGPT so that it could break it down in simple terms. Because Jesus, like the jargon that is used in this thing is like, I'm sure like for your dad, like he could probably like translate it pretty easily, right?
Oh, my dad. Yeah, presumably. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a kind of a tough read. But in a nutshell, it seems like I basically cracked the bottom of a bone in my thumb and tore a ligament and dislocated a tendon or something or dislodged a tendon or something like that.
That's
It's what I
crazy.
gather.
And to think this is like a week plus later after the fall that you're first learning this because you were abroad.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the doctor says when I visit him soon to properly tell me the results. So it's not just like what ChatGPT said. But thankfully, it doesn't seem to need surgery, just patience. But yeah, and thankfully, the foot has been healing very well. Like I was prescribed some ointment and stuff, and honestly, it looks almost normal except for like a big piece of skin missing. But that's not too bad anymore. It used to look way
That's good
worse.
that's healing at least.
Yeah, like there's no more pain
if
on the toe or
nothing
anything.
else-
But all things considered, yeah. So we're here, we're alive, we survived. I survived the solo trip. I will definitely do it again. I will be more careful. I will freaking close my backpack.
I was just say, if nothing else, the fact that you went to Japan, proceeded to spend a week without basically any communication outside of game chat, and then had this injury and still made the best of it, like that speaks volumes about you in a way, like your outlook and your, it could have gone so much worse for like physically, but also mentally, and you seem to have stayed.
Honestly,
like,
it
in a
felt
pretty good
like
place mentally, which is good, which is great.
Yeah, it felt like if it were to happen anywhere, like I was glad it happened during the Japan trip when I was there, because yeah, it validated me to me. Like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I will be okay. Doesn't matter what happens. We'll make it out. So yeah.
Plus, you
excited
do
for
want to
what
live
the
there ultimately, so this shows you can go through all the trials and tribulations.
yeah. So we'll see what the future holds, but Jesus, I did not expect that to take almost an hour. But I guess yeah.
Well, a lot
Sorry about
happened to
that.
you, so it's understandable. But I'm glad you're okay and that you're healing up.
I guess that makes up for last episode and this episode.
Yeah,
so,
there you go. You're backfilling the last episode.
Yeah, so I am going to be.
But don't
quiet
worry,
for
because
the
I have
rest.
plenty I can say too. So.
All right, take it away.
But-
Unless you guys have any
No, as I said
lingering
before-
questions, but yeah.
I don't think so. Well, so your foot's basically back to normal. Your wrist is TBD, and you have a new phone.
Oh yeah, I went from the 14 to the 16.
Nice.
Is that the most
The
recent one?
backup. Yes,
That's the most recent up until
until
2
next
weeks
month.
From now,
Yeah.
Yeah, literally 2 weeks from now, September 9th. Yep.
Yeah, when Jason told me over Nintendo chat that like, wait, did you just do this to get the orange one? I didn't know there was an orange one. I'm like, oh, damn,
Yeah,
do
so
I
the
wait
first
a
time
month?
somebody lost his phone after being like, "Are you okay?" and everything was so like literally 2 days prior, the leak happened of the 17's
Oh
the
no,
supposed
I
colors,
lost
and there's
my
an
phone.
orange Pro, and I was like, "Is this a subconscious thing because you love orange? Like, is this you wanting the Pro?" But clearly not,
wish.
because you got the 16. So
Yeah, and thankfully, I had my phone already backing itself up every day, so I just downloaded a backup from the day it got lost. So it was really, literally like nothing happened. Just had to do like get some help from IT to set up some like work perfect, like 2-factor authentication stuff. But other than that, nothing lost.
I will say, like,
Of all the
way
things
you
to
seem have
lose, the
handled it-
phone is probably like the best thing to lose because it was the
Not for
most
me.
replaceable thing.
I-
At least for me.
If,
But yeah.
if I lost my phone, I'd lose my mind. Like like my style of travel, like you were saying, this is a chill trip and laid back, and I commend you for being able to like make it such a good trip. But for me, I love exploring and taking photos and editing the photos and posting the photos and like seeing everything and documenting everything and checking in everywhere, and posting cool things I see. And I don't know what would happen if I lost my phone. But also, that
Yeah.
pretty much guarantees I can't lose my phone because every 2 minutes it's back in my hand because I'm doing something. So
Yeah.
it's like it's harder for me to be like, where'd my phone go? Because it's always physically being held. But yeah, you definitely handled it better than I suspect I would have.
Appreciate
I
it.
guess. And you use game chat in a way that I don't think a use case Nintendo probably didn't predict. But look at that.
Yeah.
Free promo for game chat. Get a Switch too, so when you lose your phone, you don't lose contact.
Yeah, I am never not traveling with my iPad again. Or at the very least, maybe
That
consider
would've been a
getting
lot
like an
easier.
iPad mini, like, because I still would like the option to not take my iPad sometimes because I do use it for a lot of, I guess, let's say creative work. But having a backup device, just in general, just seems handy. Because maybe sometimes I don't want to use my phone and I just want to use a smaller device. Cause,
Right. And the iPad Mini is a really nice form.
Yeah, because I like to travel light. And
It's a good
honestly,
in-between.
aren't they compatible with the Apple Pencil now?
Yeah, they are.
I believe the newer one is, yeah.
Oh, that is.
Go for like a refurbished one
must
on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much do those go for? I'm guessing.
Or even like the one gen before the current gen that they still sell will be cheaper and I think also supports the pencil. I think they've been doing it for 2 years. I could be wrong. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the Angel Japan hour. Kevin, do you have an hour that you'd like to document here on the podcast? And then I could talk about my adventures?
Yes,
In my
yeah.
hour,
I
guess.
I actually developed a little quiz. Funnily enough, Angel, you speaking about like a game show idea about like our friendship. It's more or less the same thing, but instead of like being happy categories, they're all things that I hate. So you guys have to
Oh,
guess
no.
what I hate more. Okay,
Right now? We're doing this
We're
live.
gonna
Okay.
start with a quick one. Okay, just a quick one.
Yeah, yeah.
Which one of these three movies do I hate more? Okay. Option A, Venom. Okay.
Okay.
Option 2, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And I'm going to throw a wild card in here. Option 3, or option C, Venom, The Final Dance. Which one do I hate more?
Oh, man. So you've seen all three. So
Unfortunately.
you saw The Last Dance.
Oh, it's called The Last Dance? That tells you how much I cared about that movie.
I don't know if it's The Final Dance or Last Dance. I just said a name.
Yes. Let There Be Carnage.
You guys each get a guess.
I'm going to say the third one because I saw in the trailer that a horse becomes Venom or Venom becomes a horse.
Okay.
And I feel like that might be a bridge too far for
Angel?
you somehow.
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, my gut wants to say Let There Be Carnage, but I distinctly remember you talking about either how bad or boring the third one was. There was just something about it that you were just happy that it ended. Because I don't remember you, at least your thoughts much on the second or first one for that matter.
I've never seen any of them somehow.
You know, I'm going to go with the third one as well. I hope I don't regret my change.
You're regretting your change. As a matter of fact, the one I hate the most is the first one because it led to 2 sequels that I hate just as much. But at
That's
the
a
very
good
but at the very
answer.
least, that's the one that enabled all of America
That
into
birthed.
into allowing
Good.
Yeah.
2 more abominations to happen. I hate those movies.
Well,
with
I guess
passion.
we're not your true friends then.
Nope. And that will conclude the quiz. So now I know how
You
you
should
guys
do a
feel.
question every episode. It could be a segment.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
The Kevin's, I don't know what we should call it. The Kevin hatred corner.
There, yeah, that's fine.
something. I
That
don't know.
works.
Case Q.
Yeah, but the K for corner to match the K for Kevin.
Okay.
So the KHK.
KHK, Kevin Hay Corner.
Yeah.
Okay,
KHK.
I'm with it.
There we go. All right. So from hatred to less hated things. Was there anything else you want to talk about, Kevin, or try to just dive into some stuff I've been up to that does also include stuff you guys might have seen, like Nintendo's recent
Now let's go into it.
events and whatnot. All right, sure. Okay, so Angel was in Japan, and while you were stewing over your hatred of Venom, I guess, I did a couple cool things. Some Nintendo related, some that will kind of, like I said, nicely go into some Switch 2 happenings. But I basically built, I said this at the top, I basically built my own Comic-Con, but coincidentally. So on a Saturday a week ago, I went to the Television Academy's first ever Televerse, which is basically a 4-year consideration / business summit / workshop / panel thing that's really geared towards TV industry folk and like Academy voters for the Emmys and that sort of thing. But they also opened up everything to the public if they wanted to go. And they didn't advertise it super well, so it wasn't super crowded. But basically, for $30 a panel, which is like a third of what Paley costs for Paley's Fest at the Dolby Theater, I was in a hotel ballroom in LA Live, and I saw the entire cast of Severance, the entire cast of The Studio, or most of them, like half the cast of Abbott, 2/3 of the Only Murders trio, Colin Farrell, and a couple of the other folks from Penguin, not Kristen, what's her name, unfortunately. She had a prior commitment. What else did I see? The writing team of Andor, so the three brothers who basically made Andor, and heard their takes on the parallelism with the current events and all that in the world. I'm forgetting some. But basically it was like this intimate, cool little baby Comic-Con where it's just you go room to room, just panel to panel all day, which ones you want to book or whatever. And it was actually really cool. And it was like chatting with some industry folk. And again, I think what was really cool about it is it was kind of an industry event, even though I wasn't industry. So like at the end of the, like we go to Comic-Con and stuff, right? You go, it's this huge room. You wait outside forever. You get in, you get an okay seat. You see the thing. Great. It's fun. You move on. This one, it's like some had only like 100 people in them. Some had, I think, up to 500. But they even gave you snacks at the end of each one. And then you go back out and walk back to get back in the line to go back in. And you just kind of did this all day. And it was all inside and all air conditioned and very like breezy. And it was kind of a cool event. So keep an eye on Televerse for those in the LA area in future years, because this was their first pass at it. And, there's some growing pains of sorts. Like they got, like I was saying, I saw like 2/3 of the Only Murders people. Like Martin Short was there virtually, but Steve Martin and Selena Gomez were there physically. I saw the whole Severance cast, but I only saw like some of Abbott. I saw most of the studios. Like they're still trying to like get it to the point where they can get like entire, none of the cast of Andor, just the creative team. So they're working to get it to the point where they could get like the full everyone. But besides that, like it was a really fun day to hear all these insights and stuff and learn things. Like here's a little random one. Abbott Elementary, each character, Quinta Bronson, who created the show, purposely made each character have a very unique profile with different hair so that you could recognize them like you do cartoon characters. So in cartoons, she was reading up on this before the show came out, every character has a very unique either head shape or hair shape or something, because they don't change the clothes on cartoon characters really. And they don't really, so you need to be able to very quickly identify them. It's just like, oh, that's Marge because she's a really tall head, not like, it's this character, but you're seeing her in this clothes and that clothes and the next clothes. It's just like all you have to identify them is like the head. And she thought that'd be interesting to do. Yeah, and she thought that it'd be appropriate to do that in sitcoms. So that's why every character on that show, which I never really knows, has a very unique head shape with hair. So like little things like that were kind of fun to learn about. Or like Severance, apparently Adam Scott gave the entire cast that all had to play Ains and Outies for the first time basically a crash course. Like he did acting lessons with them because he was doing the innie and outie thing first. So he like just sat them down over a course of a few weeks and like basically taught a workshop with them. Like little tidbits like that. So yeah, it was a fun day. And that was going to be my highlight of my weekend. But then like 5 days before I went to that, Pokemon Worlds kind of landed in my lap, and I did that too. So it ended up being a really cool like piece together. I got the TV panels and I got the video game stuff, and it was a fun weekend. But I do want to talk about Pokemon Worlds because I feel like that intersects with a lot of our interests collectively. And it's funny. I always talk about how much I love my in-person video game events and spectacles, and obviously events in general because Televerse. And I've obviously been a lifelong Pokemon fan. I'm obviously a diehard Nintendo guy. And yet I never went to Pokemon Worlds over the multiple times it was local to us in LA down at the Anaheim Convention Center. And I never took the day trip for the multiple times it was down in San Diego.
You didn't go with me that one time that I went?
No, you went didn't you go to like a quarterfinal in Long Beach? It wasn't Worlds itself, was it?
Actually, I think you're right. I don't remember if I went by myself or if I went with Air.
You went by yourself. I don't know if I didn't go with you, but I did help edit together your article about it. Like you wrote the article and I put the pictures in. I remember that years ago. But yeah, so I've never actually been to a Pokemon thing. And truth be told, I almost didn't go to this one either. Like I pretty much, like I said, on a whim, it kind of fell in my lap. Like I got a last minute Sunday only spectator ticket on Wednesday night. And the reason I bought the ticket, truthfully, is because of puns. Like, I mean, kind of not seriously, but also seriously. So every year, Pokemon Worlds has gotten more and more elaborate, right? Like I think I didn't go in the early years because at the time the focus was very strictly on the competitive gaming of it. It is, after all, centered around a world championship across the video games and the card game. And I don't competitively play, I don't competitively watch, so it wasn't really like a must-see thing for me. But I have casually kept tabs on it, in part because the closing ceremony announcement they'd make, they'd do like broader franchise announcements, and as years went on, there'd be more and more stuff on hand beyond the competitive aspect. Like last year, it's where they debuted some Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket details at a booth, and they let you like swipe the booster packs for the first time, and they had neat photo ops, and they had a drone show down in Hawaii when they did it last year. So like I was kind of keeping tabs on it, and like basically the event has morphed into something more relevant to me since, or I guess I should say it's evolved into something more relevant to me since, which brings me back to the puns that got me there this year. So alongside all that stuff beyond the competitive scene, they're getting really more elaborate with the, for lack of a better term, I guess the set dressing, if you will, of everything at the show. And this year, on the opening night of the pop-up Pokemon Center store that was at Worlds, the Pokemon socials all shared on their, the various accounts that some of the themed setups were pretty fun and had puns. So the overall theme of Worlds this year was leaning into like SoCal's 50s and 60s like car culture, like roadside diners, jukeboxes, all that stuff. So in the store, they had a Jigglypuff record themed section, like a record shop, and within that they had an amazing set of puns riffing on real life music acts, all on fake vinyls with art that like cover art that paid loose tribute to what they're spoofing. So it was all like Pokemon puns. And I saw this, I was like, oh man. And then here's what's odd. By the time I got to Worlds and I got to the Pokemon Center on that Sunday, they were completely gone. Not sold. You couldn't buy them. They were just like set pieces, but they were just scrubbed. All the social posts deleted. The physical fake album covers on the shop wall literally gone. Like I don't know if they upset someone higher up or what, but it's like these props never existed, at least not officially. So it was really weird. I saw them, they got me a go, and then by the time I got there, they were gone. Of course, unofficially, you can still find them on Google. And that, now lets me read them off to you. So I can't resist. And also, I think you guys need to know what got me a go. So I'm going to read all the puns. Some of them I think you'll appreciate. Here we go. Ready? Okay. There's the Arctic Mankeys. There's the
Damn it. Okay,
Papa
that's
Baroque.
good. God damn it.
Yeah, there's
Arctic Monkeys are my
there's
favorite
the Papa
band.
Barboat. Yeah, I did. That's why I put it first. I knew I'd get a reaction from you.
God
Yeah, so there's
damn
the
it.
Arctic Mankeys. There's the Papa Barboach instead of Papa Roach. There's the Nido Kings of Leon, Stevie Wonder Guard, Whisk Cash for presumably Johnny Cash. That one was a little weaker. Hammer Arm with a Machamp on the cover. Is Hammer Arm a move? I honestly don't know. But the other ones get better. There's Vespa Queen. There's Reg Ice Girls, like Spice Girls. There's Alice Whooper. There's the Black-Eyed Pharaoh Seeds. There's Kyogre Minogue. There's Meat Leafeon, Billy Cladle, the Combeegees, Rage Against the Machop, Lexa Radiohead, Blue Cloister Cult, and last but not least, Muse, spelled M-E-W-S. And that got me to get the $39 ticket. So yeah, I don't know what it was about these puns besides just being like well-themed and clever, but it did get me to go, and then they did disappear by the time I got there. So yeah, that's what got me there. And then to fast forward to the event itself. But by the way, anyone have a favorite? I think yours was Arctic Mankeys. Angel, do you have a favorite pun?
Muse.
Muse is pretty good, right? I think Muse might be my favorite. Although Blue Cloister Cult
Cloister
and
Cult is pretty
Papa
good.
Barboach, yeah, and Papa Barboach those are pretty solid. As was Kyogre Minogue. So someone had a lot of fun doing those. But anyway, so that was what got me in the door. Fast forward to the event itself. I think what was interesting about Worlds is that it really felt like it was kind of at this inflection point between being a championship and a video game tournament and some sort of like actual Pokemon Expo. Like it made a lot of sense that one of the closing ceremony announcements that night was how next year in San Francisco, they're actually going to evolve Worlds into a championship event and a true, like in an arena, and then a true simultaneous proper fan expo that they're calling Pokemon XP. So there'll be two simultaneous events that kind of cross over. And it definitely felt like they were moving that way. Like I'd say this inflection point, I I'd say it materialized in like good and bad ways in my experience there. On the good side, there's a lot of cool stuff if you're a fan but aren't like watching or playing competitively. The floor was split into multiple halls with different exhibitions in each. So in one hall, it was all Pokemon Company run stuff. So they had various quite ornate and intricate photo ops. Like they had statues of Gengar and Nidorino battling like it was the original Red and Blue intro. They had, you could pose with Charizard and Blastoise. They even gave you a prop Pokeball to strike a pose with, the one that's made by the Wand Company. Angel, you might remember that because you and Elvis gave me one of those as a gift a number of years ago. It was pretty cool. But yeah, they were just like handing those to you and polishing them for the photo op. Then they had like a Pokemon concierge photo op with this very soft looking Psyduck. They had an area for costume character meet and greets, an area for ticketed autograph sessions with various content creators and like Pokemon people. What else? They had multiple areas for trading cards, one for for trading things, I should say, because one was for cards. And then they also did a pin rally. So they give you a map and you could collect a set of pins by going to various booths. But to get all the pins, you also needed to trade, either because you didn't go whatever booth, or for two of the pins, you actually had to trade or talk to staff for one of them, and then to the like officially designated content creators who had special badges for the other one. So there's like this whole, very in the style of Pokemon, you got to trade and interact with others and that sort of thing. And then they had a small exhibit museum thing of every mainline Pokemon game and its console, another of all the merch and exclusive cards from past worlds, which has now been going for like 10 plus years. They had a Pokemon trading card game art gallery with very large framed versions. It's some of the new black and white artwork from the new set, which looked really nice. They had the do you guys know about this? Toyota did a project where they made a Miraidon from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet motorcycle in Japan that actually like functions and can transform from being a motorcycle form to his like, I guess, leg form. Yeah, so they brought it over, and it's the first time it's left Japan. And coincidentally, the morning I was there, they transformed it. So it takes people to do it. It's about a 15-minute process, but they actually like switched it out from being the motorcycle to like just the standing statue. And how they did it was the most like is very like Japanese. There's a bunch of Japanese gentlemen in identical black jackets, white gloves, matching black helmets, and they were like hustling around and essentially working on a car, except the car was this Pokemon. But yeah, it's just interesting to see like the wheels come off and how the legs were like automated and then weren't, and they had to, how they finagled that, and just how relatively quick the whole thing was. Like I said, only 15 minutes. It was a pretty cool thing to watch. I took a time lapse, like a minute and a half, I think it's 30 seconds, but it was a neat little thing. But yeah, so that was just one hall. Then there's another hall with the main stage and areas for like side events where you can compete in the games or cards or whatever. You didn't have to be like officially competing to play these side events. And then there was, and also I should say the main stage, again, really nice set dressing. They had like an LA style lifeguard tower that had some Pokemon stuff on it. They had a Pikachu'd out convertible Cadillac. So like it was yellow, it had ears, it had a tail. It was all Pikachu-y, like, and that was just parked on stage. Fits the whole roadside drive car culture motif. And then to the right of this hall, if you're looking head on at the stage, was another hall. And in that hall, we're back to booths again. So this time, it's all of Pokemon's partners. So here's where Nintendo set up shop with a demo of Pokemon Legends ZA, the first playable demo in the world. Pocket had a booth with a map where you could say where you're from and do different trading card game Pocket stuff. Pokemon Go had a photo op with like in-game prizes you can earn. Build-A-Bear was there. First books were there. They had all their licensed stuff. And then there's even an area in the back that almost kind of felt like a real convention. It was like a third-party vendor market or something, like what you'd see at like an anime expo or a Comic-Con, like just random small-time folks just selling Pokemon stuff, and it was all sanctioned by Pokemon. So yeah, there was all that. And then separate from that, there was the Pokemon Center pop-up, which took up an entire hall of its own and required a reservation to get in. And here, if you did have a reservation, they had a whole elaborate system where you'd walk into the hall at your designated time, go into one of 4 different holding areas, naturally named Pikachu, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and then they'd slowly fill each holding area into the store itself, all with a live DJ in the hall doing mixes of, I kid you not, Ice Spice, Clips, the Wii Shop channel, and Pokemon music. It was a very eclectic mix. And while you waited or, before you hopped into one of those holding pens, they also had a bunch of different photo ops you could do separate from the ones in the rest of the show. Say like a giant inflatable Snorlax, and they had a pretty slick Charizard statue. They had a bunch of other posed Pokemon. You could like sit next to a Charmander on like a color coordinated bench. Like it was a lot. And here with the Pokemon Center, this is one of two spots where I think you could really sense Worlds was in this sort of in between the inflection point I was describing of being like a game tournament and just a massive Pokemon convention, because the Pokemon Center was actually open to the public. No Worlds pass, ticket, badge required. But what you needed was a time slot. And what ended up happening is that a lot of people, a lot of scalpers, got time slots to either secure exclusives from Worlds and flip them, or to flip the actual time slots themselves. In some instances, for $50 to $100, just to be able to step foot in the store. And, you know, if it was limited to needing a Worlds pass, it would have cracked down on that a little bit. But the pop-up was arguably the real breadwinner for Pokemon. So they opened the floodgates, and in the first day or two, apparently, like, they had such chaos and people trying to rush to get everything that, like, the fire marshal nearly shut down the entire store. So that was something, you know, a little growing pain they had. Fortunately, by Sunday, when I was there, everything did calm down, in part because a lot of the exclusives were sold out. And also, fortunately for me, through the power of Reddit and just putting myself out there, found a very kind soul who let me hop into his time-slotted group for free. Shout out to Ed. There's no chance he's listening to this, but shout out to Ed. So yeah, I was able to experience the full store, make a couple new friends without dealing with the scalpers whatsoever. In fact, in a funny like reversal of fates, some leftover items that previously required winning a raffle to be able to buy had extra inventory from people who didn't claim them. So one of the cooler items at this year's Worlds was a themed 50s style mini jukebox radio CD player aux out thing that had Jigglypuff art. It had the Worlds logo. It was like a 50s diner thing, but Pokemonified, subtly Pokemonified. And it was just readily available to buy. Normally you would need to have won a chance to buy it. So I was able to pick that up, along, of course, with the Bidoof plush. Wasn't exclusive, but it was Bidoof, so I had to do it. So yeah, it's just, you know, there was that sort of chaos with Pokemon Center. For some folks, it ended up working out pretty well for me. I wasn't as lucky with the Legend ZA demo and wiggling into a time slot there. Those were all booked through Nintendo's Warp Pipe Pass system in advance. And by the time I even knew I was going to Worlds, they already ran out, which makes sense because it was like 3 days later. Some people were trying to scalp the Warp Pipe passes, which was a little ridiculous. But I did watch a good amount of ZA and can circle back to some thoughts and highlights on what I saw in a bit. But first, though, I do want to stay with the idea that Worlds was like at an inflection point when I was there, because the other thing that was new and went a little sideways was the introduction of an arena on Sunday for the championships, because it turns out there's literally an arena attached to the Anaheim Convention Center. It seats about 7,500 people or so. And here,
I didn't know that part.
like with the yeah, I didn't either. I don't know if it's new or what, but it's the first time they've ever used the arena. I mean, they've been at Anaheim a couple times. First time they've ever used it anywhere. And yeah, it's like a legit like round arena. And here, like with the Pokemon Center, I feel like you could tell there were growing pains and scaling up from what they used to do. And it again involved a fire marshal too. So essentially, they said the arena was first come, first serve until it was full on Sunday. And they had systems in place with wristbands if you need to go to the bathroom. But, you know, they also know that if you leave the arena, your seat will be forfeited. So very much, in theory, how Hall H at Comic-Con works, or come to think of it, actually, yeah, it's about the same size as Hall H as well. It's maybe 1,000, 1,500 people more than Hall H. But, you know, like it's a revolving door. People leave, people go in. Except unlike what the policy of you have wristbands, but also if you leave, you can't come back would imply. And unlike what Comic-Con and other events tend to do, they just didn't let people in as other people left. So starting around 2:30 that afternoon, which was 90 minutes before the finals truly began and 5 hours before the closing ceremony, they literally just sealed off the arena entirely. If people leave, they leave. But they claimed that the fire marshal wasn't going to let anyone backfill the seats. And that created a situation where, A, you could literally see a bunch of empty seats on the stream, even though the demand was there by attendees to fill those seats. And B, a bunch of those attendees were quite upset, as I'm sure you can imagine. So initially, I thought this was just going to be a way to thin out the crowd in front of the arena because it was rather unorganized. It's just kind of a mob. You know, we see that at Comic-Con all the time. Oh, come back a little later, and then suddenly you're able to get, oh, we're closed right now, and then suddenly you're able to get in. But the staff stuck to their guns to the point where some fans were like literally yelling at them. Like at one point, 2 cops showed up to make sure things stayed calm. And then in front of those cops, some random woman tried to steal something from one of the staffers and got in this like really bizarre slow motion walk chase by the staffer and then by the cops, at which point they just forced the entire crowd to disperse. And that was the end of that. And it was really bizarre. And let me tell you, of all the events I've been to over the years, E3s, Comic-Cons, pop-ups, concerts, festivals, you name it, it was both kind of surprising, but maybe not all that surprising, that the most hostile crowd I've ever encountered or been surrounded by was, in fact, these Pokemon fans trying to get into that arena. And I get it. You get a pass called spectator and you want to be in the main arena feeding off that crowd energy, not watching on some screen over in the other show floor hall. You know, at that point, you can just watch at home is kind of the thought. And this is doubly true when, like, even international competitors who were out already were no longer able to get into the arena. Like, they had a VIP path. So if you had a special badge, like if you're a content creator or something, you could get in. But if you were a competitor, you were stuck outside with us boring spectators. And that felt like a major whiff on the Pokemon Company's part, especially if there were open seats. It's not like people with the designated competitor badge get in. But again, I think that the broader issue here speaks to that inflection point of Worlds. Like, one of the announcements in the closing ceremony was that alongside the non-competitive stuff evolving into Pokemon XP, the competition itself, the championship, like I said, was going to be held in an arena. And that arena they're holding it in next year is the Chase Center. That is where the Golden State Warriors play. That has a capacity of 18,000 versus the 7,500 of the Anaheim Convention Center Arena. And tickets for that arena next year will be a separate thing you buy on top of your pass to XP itself. So clearly Pokemon knows how to approach this. It's just perhaps a little odd or bad timing or whatever you want to call it that Pokemon Company realized they needed that sort of scale and scope and they're setting it up for next year, yet didn't have procedures in place this year to help monitor the rotation of people in the smaller space, or perhaps felt it wasn't worth it, or didn't have the right coordination with the fire marshal, or whatever it was. It was just striking it was a little striking to me that like they clearly know what they need to do, and then they clearly just didn't do it or anything at a smaller scale this year. And I'm not an event planning, so I'm not like saying I know the solution, but it was an interesting growing pain to witness firsthand. But to bring it back to my own experience, I did manage to find a way in. So thanks to an incredibly nice staffer that I'm not going to elaborate on because I don't want Pokemon's assassins to like come after them, I did manage to get in legitimately. And it wasn't in time for the championship, which would have been cool to watch. The stage they had set up was super cool. The entire floor under where they were competing was a screen that would mirror what was going on in the game. Like the graphics were obviously unique to the stage, but it would be like the HP bars or whatever, the Pokemon battling and the colors of their types. Or it'd be like the cards in the player's hand or whatever. And it was all like in real time. It was really slick from what I saw on the stream at least. But I wasn't there in time for the closing ceremony, which is the thing I've always paid the most attention to with Worlds. So that was nice and fitting. And as usual, Ishihara, the CEO of Pokemon, he came out and announced a bevy of things for the card game, the video games, that whole branching out of Pokemon XP itself. And I have to say, that was cool. Like, it was cool being in the room for that. It was a good few thousand of the like most diehard Pokemon fans losing their minds at everything. Like, anytime the Mega Evolution of Dragonite, who was already announced, by the way, but anytime it popped up, which was like 2 or 3 times, the place erupted. And credit where it's due, actually. All the Mega Evolution reveals I've been doing for ZA have been pretty fun. They just did like that found footage one of Mega Victory Bell. That was pretty cool. Really makes me want a Pokemon, like a light Pokemon horror game. Like, that'd be neat. But anyway, being part of the crowd for those announcements in the closing ceremony was fun in a very like old school E3 conference sort of way. And I'm thankful it worked out that I was at least able to be in the arena for that and have a great day otherwise. I mean, all things considered, I just missed out on ZA, but I got to do the Pokemon Center. I got to do all the experiences. It was a really cool day. And definitely I'm now like kind of considering going to Worlds in San Francisco next year and turning like the trip, like making a weekend out of it, like a San Francisco weekend. So yeah, that was my experience with Pokemon Worlds and Televerse before it. But yeah, it was cool. I'm glad I went. I'm glad the puns convinced me to go. I think what's interesting though is there was more than just what I did at Worlds. There was news that came out of it, right? So the news and what's been seen at Pokemon Legends ZA, I also am kind of digging what I'm seeing, especially I imagine for those folks who tuned in wanting some answers on how they're taking the franchise forward. It is interesting because Pokemon Legends ZA was referred to on stage as the next mainline Pokemon game, but then simultaneously they announced that Pokemon Champions is the official competitive game going forward. So the mainline game and the competitive game are actually separate things now, which I thought was kind of interesting. And they also confirmed, not on stage, but in a tiny blurb in the press release, Pokemon Champions will in fact have a Switch 2 version as well as a Switch 1 version as well as mobile versions. But yeah, Champions being a de facto battling game, I feel like, Angel, this is more your world than mine. How do you feel about that? How do you even feel about Champions? Because they're kind of keeping it close to their chest while also saying it's going to be the competitive game a year from now, which seems very soon.
I feel like I just have so many questions, but on one hand, yeah, it does sound awesome. What I can only speculate based on what I've seen with little context, because we've always just wanted, my favorite part about Pokemon was the competitive battling aspect of it, but namely, taking Pokemon whose designs I really liked and trying to form the most competitive team I can out of them, not necessarily just trying to form straight up the most competitive team, because that gets boring. It's just, you're just picking the meta Pokemon at that point. It's more fun to try to come up with a cool strategy to win with a Chatot and take out those overpowered Pokemon, which I did for many years. But that being said, it's crazy, because I want to say it's too late for me, because I don't think I've played a Pokemon game since Sun. So it's been a couple I've kept up with the Pokemon designs, but I haven't played a game since then. It started off as a break that turned into a hiatus. That basically turned into, I don't know if I want to get back into it. But Pokemon Champions, based on what very little we know, almost seems like it could be a re-entry point that I was hoping for, because it seems like, at least based on a little clip that I saw, you can just straight up create the Pokemon you want with the specific stats that you want. It does
seem they have sliders. Yeah, no one knows quite how the sliders work, but there are sliders on the Pokemon and its stats.
Yeah, so is this like a Pokemon I'm actually making? Is this just to show me what the stats would look like if I invest the IVs and the training?
I imagine you're making it.
And the training in certain ways, because that does impact certain things. Sometimes just having the calculator is good. That's it could just be a calculator. But it could also be this is the Pokemon that we're generating for you. But then what can you use that Pokemon for? Is that in specific offline battles? Is it for unranked battles? Is there an unranked mode where you could just pick any of these simulated Pokemon? Is the ranked mode only Pokemon that you bring from outside the game? Basically, is it possible to play this game independent of any of the versions? Do I need to bring in the Pokemon from outside, or can the game actually generate any Pokemon at all? Because
that's interesting for two reasons, if I may. One, they will support Pokemon Home. Two, they've also alluded pretty concretely, but not fully all out, said that they're going to be not drip feeding Pokemon in, but there's going to be for example, Mega Evolution is going to be a big thing in Pokemon Champions, and they're introducing a whole new, instead of being a wristband, it's a ring now. Yeah, and I'm imagining over time they'll add other not terraforming. What's it called? Thank you. Yeah, so I imagine they'll drip feed in the different things to mix it up over the years, so it doesn't get stale. So the question becomes, does that apply to the Pokemon roster as well? Or they got Pokemon Go It, where they give you a whole bunch at first and then add a whole bunch more later and then drip feed a few and then add more after that. That's I think the real question in my mind is if you have Home, and can you import around that, or are you limited to just what they drip feed in?
Yeah, because I have a Slurpuff called Sugar Daddy, I think in Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire, who's one of my best fairy Pokemon, because they know a move that you could literally only learn from Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire through a move tutor. So if you manage to get a Slurpuff in there, you could learn Belly Drum and then use that to basically create a really cool moveset where he basically becomes super fast and just one shots everything. But like, will I be able to transfer that one? Will I have any problems? I know in the past Pokemon has done away with some moves that they didn't like, or I guess that they decided like, we don't want this Pokemon to have access to this move anymore. Like if you imported it enough times, sometimes you can still have it. Other times they just replace it with some other move that I guess the Pokemon eventually learns. But
It's a good question too, because like even at Pokemon Worlds, when I checked in, they gave me my badge, they gave me a couple packs of Pokemon cards, they gave me a lanyard, and then they gave me a card with a download code to get a special Toedscool with special stats and I think special moves in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So are they saying, to your point, a year from now, oh, those special moves don't matter anymore. It's only the moves in Champion that's here now. Like even though we just last year at Worlds gave all of you this Pokemon, you're never going to be able to use it. Like, that just seems weird, right? Like, I have to imagine there'll be some transfer system in place that supports legacy stuff like your Slurpuff and whatnot.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they are in a good position where they can, in theory, have a basically no holds barred mode where everything is just legal. Then they could have one where, because, it's their battle format, they could have a mode that's just cool, just Pokemon from the most recent generation, from the first generation. Maybe
actually, that's really interesting.
Pokemon that a battle mode where Pokemon that haven't fully evolved, or maybe that don't evolve. That'd
be great for the side events.
It has
too,
ways that they could make it really fun and feel competitive. Because that's the kind of competition that at least with Pokemon that I've grown to love more as time went on. Like out of the box, competitive modes, like turtle-shaped Pokemon battles, and then you just pick the ones you want and just try to have at it.
Right,
because you're basically forced to use Pokemon you normally would never use, because when you're just playing purely competitive, there are only so many good ones, or some Pokemon are just unarguably better than the other. Because like, oh, why use Muck when you can use this other Pokemon that has the same stats just better? Or something, there's always something like that.
The more I think about it, like one of the things that was interesting when I was there was those side events. I know I just kind of said this, but those side events where like you could just go do stuff. Like, so they support Pokemon Go, Pokemon Trading Card Game, Pokemon Unite. They even had Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket tournaments, like little side events. But to be able to do, like, if they're like blowing this out to be like a whole convention, to be like, oh, it's Saturday, time for Silly Saturday with the side event where you have to use turtle-shaped Pokemon. Like having it all kind of available in Champions, and you just like, all right, I gotta make a turtle team overnight. Like they announce it Friday, you have one day to do it, then you go do the side event, and the winner gets like an exclusive item or something. That could be a fun companion piece to the actual real competitive play that still flexes your competitive muscles in a different way. Like that could be really fun.
I want to say there was a Pokemon game that did this, because I remember entering a mode where you were only able to use baby Pokemon, or Pokemon they consider like. Basically,
that sounds familiar.
Like the Pokemon had to be at most level 5, which meant that you had to get really creative with how you could get really powerful moves in them, because you would abuse egg moves. So I could basically breed a Lucario so that it gives me a Riolu baby that's level 1, but it happens to know Hyper Beam or something like that. Like, just
that's it. You said a word there. That's another interesting piece of the puzzle is what happens to Pokemon breeding. If the mainline games are moving away from the competitive play and Champions is just like a giant Pokedex that you could just pull Pokemon from, even if it's not a full Pokedex.
Yeah, because that's the thing. That's like where the
is breeding out the window.
Is.
Like where's
like
that
typically?
Go? Yeah,
historically the simulators were used so that you could trial and error a really good team, so that then you knew, okay, I know this works. Now I can invest a couple hours it's going to take to create each of these Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
That way you have, the full legit Pokemon that you put blood, sweat, and tears into to breed the perfect Pokemon for, and you already tested it, so you didn't waste your time.
And to take that one step
but
further,
if they're
does that
getting rid of that, like on one hand, get rid of that, like, oh cool, it makes it more, I guess, inclusive. But on the other hand,
is it more accessible? Is it more? Is there a high player base now for?
I guess it is more accessible.
Play? Are they expanding the league? Like, is that what this is doing?
In theory, it does make it more accessible, and I would say more competitive. Yeah. Because now the turnaround time is faster. But on the other hand, there was something nice about knowing that like someone had to
Yeah, are
like
you like
put time to create
lowering
all
the
of
skill
these.
ceiling in a way, almost?
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, is
kind
it
of
like it's
both
too? It's so much more
initially
accessible that any yeah, like it cuts both ways, right? Like, is it gonna like it like
because people can
democratizes
now.
competitive play, but still,
Yeah, because like I wonder if there'll be an equivalent to net decking, which is a term in like trading card games, or at least online trading card games, where actually no, it is a trading card game term where basically people will when they end, this is the play Magic the Gathering or Pokemon for that matter, and they just started playing and they're like, I want a really good deck, so they're just gonna Google a deck that won the most recent championship, and then they just buy that card, and
yeah,
bam, now they just have that deck. So
right. And then there is luck involved in all this, so you could get real good off luck. Yeah, and be
yeah,
like
and
in the
then
tournament
you
the
could
next
practice
year
that team
versus
a
the people
lot.
that spend 10 years doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you could practice using that team and eventually get really good at it. Because there's obviously going to be some
yeah.
nuances you weren't going to be privy to in the beginning. But yeah, it's no different than that. I mean, I think even
I mean,
there was a Pokemon game that let you borrow a team from your opponent as well, temporarily at least.
oh, was it Black and White? It was one of the
It
early
was
Wi-Fi
one of
connection enabled ones, wasn't
those or
it?
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, oh, you could
but
battle with your team, or they could let you borrow one.
I guess at some level this does speak. I mean, I don't mean to keep hammering my theme of inflection point. Worlds is at inflection point, but no, seriously, like this does speak to like it seems like Pokemon's like whoa, we're much bigger now than we ever were. They're the number one media brand in the world. Like they're huge. So it does seem like well, how do we make Pokemon competitive play have an easier entry point? And Champions is in theory that. But I am curious what the like ripple effect is in terms of stuff like your net decking point. Like, I mean, I guess the trading card game's doing fine, and it is a card game. There is no breeding. You're not breeding cards. You're not smashing cards together and then a new card comes out. Like, it's not. It's a non-issue in the card game. So maybe they're just trying to graft that over to net decking aside to the video game. I don't know. It's definitely like a new approach for them. I think whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where it goes, but we'll
Yeah.
see. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic. It is kind of cool and crazy that there is a phone app equivalent to it, because then it's like, oh god, like in theory, this is pretty much like what I would have wanted, like an official way to battle Pokemon anywhere. But
I mean, it's mobile first and then ported to
definitely
Switch second. Yeah.
not gonna put it on my phone. That is just asking for trouble. Like if Hearthstone,
Just put it on your Switch too.
yeah, like if Hearthstone got me the way it did, like this will, like, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's already making me like nervous.
It's-
Like not even gonna touch that.
It's and again, it speaks to that larger audience. It's like they're going to mobile because they can hit so many more people and make Pokemon. Like if you want your fix of like traditional Pokemon, Champions is gonna be it, and they're gonna go like full force, biggest audience they can for that. Which I'm sure Nintendo's not totally thrilled, but they get a cut of the money. They own half a Pokemon company, and kind of in tandem with that, they still get the quote mainline games. And I think that was the other biggie, at least in my book, at Worlds, was the reveal of this new Pokemon Legends ZA 4-player battle mode. Like, when paired with what we're seeing of demos of ZA and what I saw when I was watching people play, it does start to paint this more complete picture of, like, what this game will be come October 16th. And especially in light of traditional Pokemon battling getting its spotlight with Champions, I'm kind of into the fact that they're really getting kind of, I wouldn't say wacky, but they're going down a path with Legends ZA that like they wouldn't have done if the core game still had to be the core battle game. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, no, I just said yeah, but I mean also just remember that
Yeah.
I think it was in Tokyo Station, just seeing like a mural that spanned like a whole corridor that literally had every single Mega Evolution ever up to that point. And
Oh,
I was
pretty
just,
cool.
and I was just walking down. I'm like, all right, where's Mega Pinsir? I see Mega Pinsir, and he was like one of the last ones, or one of the first ones, I guess, depending on what side you
Depends on
enter
your
that
direction,
corridor
yeah.
from. Yeah.
But Mega Evolution, man, they're back in a big way. Like every announcement on that stage had a Mega Evolution tie-in. Pokemon Go, Pokemon Pocket, Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Legends, Pokemon Champions, like the trading card game. All of the trading card game had some really slick looking Mega like EX cards that have like Japanese writing behind them. They look like kind of like old Godzilla posters and all. It's pretty cool. But yeah, with Legends ZA, I'm not sure if both of you saw or anyone listening saw what they revealed, but they basically introduced a riff on kind of the old, was it Sun and Moon that had the Battle Royale mode where you're like playing with 4 trainers at once? It's here now again. It's called Battle Club. And essentially, you've got 3 minutes to defeat as many Pokemon as you can within an enclosed space with 3 other trainers all doing the same. If your Pokemon faints, you respawn where you started. If you defeat others, you earn points. And then those points at the end of the 3 minutes determine your ranking overall and how you did and all that. But what's neat about it, and what's neat about what I saw of Legend ZA when I was watching the demos at Nintendo's booth from behind the little barricade, is how dynamic it all looks. Like, the battle system, just moves at a speed the traditional turn-based ones obviously don't. Like, you're running around as the trainer, you're needing to dodge attacks and grab objects like orbs to be able to activate your Pokemon's Mega Evolution. This is true both in the boss fight they had on the demo on the show floor, where the boss is like literally spewing out orbs at times as you battle them, and is in the case in Battle Club. It's in the description that like you'll collect orbs to Mega Evolve faster. But you're not like, it's also interesting because you're not like beholden to waiting for the other person to make their move or waiting for like the turn. Like, each attack, it's not like your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. You can just hammer it, and it works off a cooldown system now. So you can hammer it until you can't. Then you have to obviously wait, and then you can hammer it again. So everything, just like watching it, is just a lot more like go, go, go and fluid, even from what I saw like in the one-on-one stuff in the demo, let alone the Battle Club, where there's like, that much more going on and that much more frenzy. But like, yeah, watching a demo, the thing I kept thinking about is, if the original Legends was riffing on Breath of the Wild in its exploration, like ZA kind of feels like it's riffing on like a little bit of how like the Tales series does its battles. Like, it's not 1-to-1, but man, I got some Tales of Symphonia vibes, flashbacks, like watching some of the regular battles, just the way you're moving, and then you're sort of like, stuff is happening, but you're also kind of moving separately. I overheard someone saying it kind of reminds them, the boss fight in particular kind of felt Souls-like a little, in terms of you have this big daunting thing and you're like kind of hammering away at it. So it's going to be really interesting how it plays, because one of the things just watching a demo couldn't really clue me into is how different it's going to like feel in terms of like your Pokemon muscle memory, because this is the first time they're really mixing up the battle system this much. I mean, I'm the type of guy who leans heavily on like offensive attacks, but if I'm burning through those and they're all in a cooldown mode, I'm gonna have to come to appreciate defensive ones or stash changing moves more or that sort of thing. And like, while monitoring the cooldowns and simultaneously needing to like bob and weave and collect orbs for Mega Evolutions, like, I feel like that's gonna have will have a learning curve, when in past Pokemon I just had to focus on the one thing, the menu. Like, it's gonna be interesting. And there's also a portion of the demo, I mentioned the boss fight, there's this whole thing, noble Pokemon. So they're these huge ones, and you just fight it. It has like a huge health bar, and it was interesting because like, you're battling it. Some of the attacks now, this is true in normal battles too, aren't just attacking the Pokemon, they're littering things around the environment. So like, if you use like a Rock Smash, there's like boulders falling everywhere. And then you have this Pokemon, in this case the noble Pokemon, like shedding orbs you need to collect, and presumably there's like a strategy to collecting those while you're battling. And it's just, yeah, it's just like a lot of things at once. And I'm very excited to try it. But I was also a little surprised by how many like questions I had just watching it. Like, if you watch Zelda or Metroid or whatever, you have a pretty good 1-to-1 sense of how it's going to feel to play. Even with something like Breath of the Wild, when it was first introduced, like seeing it, I'm like, I understand how this will feel. But like ZA, there's a slight mysterious freshness to it that I wasn't expecting until I started really watching it. And in and of itself, that's kind of exciting. So I'm actually, even though I didn't go hands-on, coming out of Worlds and seeing ZA and seeing that Battle Club mode and stuff, I'm actually kind of more excited for getting it in October than I was before. Like, before I was like, oh, the city feels limited and I don't know. And now I'm kind of like, I don't care about the city. Like, this battle thing is interesting and it feels really dynamic. And the Battle Club feels almost like, not like Smash Bros or anything, but it has that kind of a frenzied state to it that looks like it could be cool. So I'm pretty excited for the game now, much to my surprise. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have been following ZA.
Like, Jay, they went through a whole arc.
But
yeah,
no, quite literally. Yeah.
I just see the trailer. Like, I mean, all I could say is like, yeah, it looks more interesting than. It looks like they're taking this real-time Pokemon combat system in a more interesting direction, but I wouldn't say it's moved my needle in any way that's like, okay, now I'm getting it. I think I'm still, for the most part, dismissing it. Which, like it's fine enough. There's plenty of games right now like to catch up on and to look forward to. I mean, I still want
Yeah.
100% Bonanza, which is obviously no small game. But, yeah.
To that point, actually, I mean, Kevin, I guess you get it on Switch One. Would you get Pokemon Legends EA, or are you checked out with how poorly they run on Switch One?
Are we done talking about Pokemon? Are we done?
There's our answer. Yeah. So I was gonna say, yeah, we are. I was gonna move out Pokemon because, Angel, you made a good point. There's a lot of games coming, and that was what was kind of interesting. Pokemon aside, like Pokemon not being Pokemon, the timing of ZA at Worlds was interesting to me because it seemed to jumpstart what's kind of like a phase 2 of Switch game marketing almost. Like last episode, I was saying how Nintendo's got like the hardware waves for Switch 2 like really locked in. They had the original launch. They did a second wave with Bonanza. It was almost like a second launch day. They're saying that Pokemon Legends is a big bundle for the holidays. Like it is kind of, they got that cadence down. But software-wise, there's a lot of question marks. It was odd when they chose to highlight things in the indie world in the first partner showcase. It was odd that that's what they chose to highlight at that time. Like, it didn't feel like the thing you would put as best foot forward. But then between ZA at Worlds, Kirby Air Riders flying in out of essentially nowhere, a bunch of games being shown at Gamescom in Germany and simultaneously at Fan Expo in Canada and at PAX West this coming weekend in Seattle, like, it does feel like the marketing of the heavy hitters is kind of starting to ramp up pretty quickly now, especially if Nintendo then does their normal September Direct. That might happen next month. I mean, they typically do. But it's interesting, though, is like the heavy hitters are coming, but it's not necessarily all good news that's coming out of them. Like, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with Gamescom or anything. There's some good, cool stuff third-party wise. Silk Song is a real thing. It comes out next week on the Switch 2 and every other platform. Indiana Jones is coming to Switch 2, which, based on positive, all the positive buzz, I'm actually pretty intrigued to see how it runs on Switch 2 and maybe check it out. There's this cool new, this is very specific, but there's a Lego Batman game they announced at Opening Night Live. It is the Arkham series battle system, but just total send-ups to like the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. Like, it's all riffing on the movies and the Matt Reeves one, but with the battle system of Arkham. So it's like kind of walking an interesting parody line that's still very truly a Batman game. So I'm kind of curious about that. That's coming to Switch 2. Plus some games that were announced earlier this year and then we're kind of nowhere but
Switch
down.
2
Some
or
are,
Switch
like,
as well?
resurfacing.
Or both?
2, the sequel console, the successor console. It will be on Switch 2, not Switch 1. Lego Batman's only on, I believe, Switch 2. I might be
called
wrong.
it the S2 or something like that.
Lego
Switch.
Batman, I'm pretty sure,
I'll
is on
say
everything.
Switch. I want to say I wasn't on Switch 1, which threw me in a loop.
I'm starting to not count Switch 1.
Oh, yeah, but it is on all modern platforms, yes. And then, but also some of the games that are coming to Switch 2 that are previously announced. Kevin, you might be interested in this one. Final Fantasy VII is apparently pretty good on Switch, too. Switch the second. Like, it's 30 frames locked, but it's steady. So people seem pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Rebirth 1? Or, wait, remake?
Yeah,
Rebirth?
the first part. The initial.
Remake.
Yeah, because I remember you had, like, questions about how it would run on Switch 2, and apparently it does. The bigger question is what's it for the second one, which is... Yeah, it runs. Well, that's the thing. That sounds like it shouldn't be a big deal. I don't know how closely you guys have been watching Gamescom. Elden Ring, man. So...
I'll just say right now, I haven't seen anything about Gamescom.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you.
You said it like twice already.
IGN called Elden Ring a, quote, disaster on Switch 2 in handheld mode. Digital Foundry said it was, quote, unacceptable performance.
Elden Ring?
Yeah, on Switch 2.
Came out already?
A game that's been out for years. The demo was at Gamescom.
Ooh.
And PAX West and Fan Expo. And it was so bad, they let people film any of the games in the booth that Nintendo had set up except Elden Ring. And they let people film any game in the booth at Fan Expo except Elden Ring. And given how big of a get Elden Ring was, that's maybe a smidge worrying.
From what I gather, it seems more like an optimization thing than a hardware thing.
Hopefully, yeah. Because, I mean, there are games that are doing well, like Final Fantasy, and so maybe it is an optimization thing. They're cutting their teeth on it. But it does suck to have, like... I was saying last episode that, like, third-party-wise, there's not a ton of big new heavy hitters coming. And this is, even if it's a heavy hitter, that's not necessarily going to hit due to the lack of optimization. So maybe they could patch it. Maybe they'll delay it. Who knows? But having your like flagship Elden Ring third-party game on Switch 2 being called a disaster and unacceptable, oof, that's not the best look in the world. So that was an interesting sort of foil to all the cool stuff that was shown at Gamescom. But then there was one other one to talk about, and then maybe we're done with this episode. Kirby Air Riders. Not to make the same pun twice, flew in literally out of nowhere. We went from no information outside of its existence to a 45-minute Sakurai-led presentation, demos at every event, and a November 20th release date. Like, you know, I was saying at the top of this episode how last episode I was like, oh, they just like, they could just flood the zone and we could go from knowing nothing to the game being out in like 2 months and it will like be everywhere. And Kirby quite literally did that to a T. And oh man, this is a Sakurai game through and through. Did you guys watch the presentation, all 45 minutes, or see anything about it?
I did watch it. I
What'd
saw
you think?
his. It's
Game making's hard comment.
yeah, game making's hard. His little comments are just always entertaining. Where he's like, "We added a second button, unfortunately," kind of thing.
Yeah, or like people ask, is it like Mario Kart? It basically is like Mario Kart, even though it's nothing like Mario Kart.
Yeah, do I still want to make it? But yeah.
Yeah, it's it. So I mean, did you ever play the original? Either of you, Kirby Air Ride?
Yes.
Surprisingly, not until last year. Like I think
I've never played it.
like,
You
I
never
it in
played Kirby
demo.
or oh my god! So I'm the
never
only
played
one
it.
that
So-
like played like a good put a good amount of time into this.
Tell
one.
is it
Well,
all
I
right,
mean, what
talk
I'm
us
saying,
through. Is
but
it
like I
okay? Sorry, Angel.
like I played it once or twice like in demo kiosks growing up, but yeah, like I didn't play it until 2 years ago when I finally like sat down and played it with like a friend, and we did just a bunch of city trial, a bunch of races, and I finally was able to be like, all right, I get why people really like city trial. The races, I don't think they ever got to click, or at least I didn't play it long enough for it to
Right.
click how it really worked. It just kind of felt like stuff just happening in the game. But City Trial was fun.
Well,
Although
I mean, it basically. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's basically Smash Run before Smash Run existed from Smash 3DS, right? Like it's you spend a few
literally.
minutes powering up all your stuff, and then
Except
you,
the people are actually there
to
instead
town.
of not there, like
Yeah.
in Smash Run.
But yeah, Kevin, you were saying you played you've like seriously played it. So
I probably
I'm
put
curious.
I probably put maybe 100 or 200 hours on the GameCube.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
I
Okay,
put
so
nothing
what do you,
compared to
so
that.
Kirby Air Riders? How do you feel about it? Is it samey? Is it enough different stuff? Is
Did
it
you?
online? Like, is it? Where do you land on it?
It could have been an HD remake of Air Ride, and I still would have bought in this game. I've loved Kirby Air Ride, and I watched all 45 minutes of this presentation because that's how much I like it. The introduction of the new button is doesn't really
Game
affect
changer.
anything. Doesn't change anything.
Oh, really? Okay. I was expecting you to go the other
No,
way.
I think
as
it
far
makes it
as
better.
like
It seems like separating the sucking up a power copy, but it at least like streamlines it. I don't know. It seems like it's only a plus, unless
I
it
mean
worked that well in the past. That it
No,
didn't
I
need it to.
mean
But I guess to Kevin's point, it's not like introducing a different mechanic. It's just shaking up how you do.
it's
things.
not introducing another mechanic, and whether they included that or not into this sequel, like it wouldn't have. I will. I'm still going to purchase this game once I have a Switch 2. It took until this presentation for me to realize, Kirby was pretty much the only the only playable character in that game, until you unlocked King Dedede and Meta Knight.
Yeah, and Meta Knight. Yeah.
So having some more options
yeah,
is really cool.
With more to come, that character select screen they showed was very barren. Like, it clearly could fit a lot more characters in there. There's a big open space. So I imagine they'll be drip feeding some announcements between now and launch.
Yeah,
But,
I do appreciate
yeah.
the fact that, unlike other Nintendo franchises, they're going to show us the stats. Some other series are just a little afraid to show you anything that has to do with hidden stats or, just some.
If you need to cough out a name, feel free to
I
look it off your chest.
I
I think I know you're
Mario Kart,
I
Mario,
guess.
goddamn Nintendo.
Yeah.
Stop with this crap. Oh, it's so annoying.
Yeah, I only
Um,
just learned recently about the whole like how the speed stat is like an average of your water, terrain, and road stats, and how that's like
I didn't even know that till just now. So
and how that like greatly affects like how each card is good. So like a card could say like it's middle of the road, but really it could be terrible on normal roads and just really excel in water or snow. So yeah, so like the stat the speed stat at least is like almost kind of useless because it's an average, which doesn't really help.
Well, I do get the feeling that, and I'm curious, Kevin, if you would agree as someone who's poured so many hours into it, I do get the impression watching Air Riders' presentation and reading up on the original a little that it's similar to Smash Bros. Hence all the stat stuff. It's similar to Smash Bros. That it's very accessible to pick up and kind of goof around with and play, and it has some like random elements. But there's probably like a high skill ceiling here. If you are really like figure out the nuts and bolts and understand all the stats, you could like really
Like,
there's a meta.
like, don't get me wrong.
Would you say that's fair? Maybe not at this level of Smash Bros, but it kind of has that same like hidden depth that Smash Bros can have.
Well, I mean, you know, back when I played this game, I was a wee lad, so I wasn't thinking
Sure.
about metas or anything of that nature.
The term didn't exist in that sense back
Right,
then.
and not only that, but you were only really playing like locally, so
Right.
I didn't go to IGN or GameFAQs or Cheat Code Central to see, oh, what's the best card. I'm sure a meta will
man,
arise.
Cheat Code Central.
Yeah,
I heard that name in a long time.
yeah, the good CCC.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm sure a meta will arise when it comes to this game. Only time will tell, obviously.
It feels like they're setting it up for that. I mean, first of all, the game, and this isn't knocking its game, it is being developed by Bandai Namco. It very clearly is using some retrofit of Smash Ultimate. The menus look very similar. The results screen looks very similar. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same underlying engine.
Well,
Just
isn't it? I just read, or I just heard from the kind of funny guys that it's Sakurai's wife that does all the menus. That's why they're so uniform.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, she does. But usually, which is really cool that like she's been doing this with him since Meteos, if not earlier. But I guess what I'm saying is like compared to some other Sakurai and Miss Sakurai projects, I'd say it's more similar than different this go around with some of how things are laid out a little. Which isn't a knock, like it works well. And they did these new flourishes where they have the text on like the two edges of the screen, like when you get like timeout or whatever and it comes in from the edges. But yeah, something about it feels very Smash Ultimate in everything. Just the bones of it, I don't know. So I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if like there is some deeper thing afoot here, because that engine obviously can do a lot at a lot of levels. But yeah, but it's cool. He does the menus with her. I'm excited to try City Trial. Like the racing looked fine. I understand why, but they only showed like 4 or 5 tracks, and the racing was fine. But the City Trial looks super fun. Like I liked the kind of like the Smash Run reference, which itself is a City Trial reference, but I like that concept. I liked the sort of randomness of what can happen when you're doing the city trial. It seems like a lot of elements can pop up. And what I particularly appreciate, which I think a lot of maybe the people that are looking for skill in this will be a little more upset by, I do like when you are ready to go into battle or whatever after the city trial ends, after the 5 minutes, it kind of goes Fall Guys on you. Where it's just like, all right, here's a rotation of games. You could do one of these. And it's cool that you can kind of sway the vote. I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that they split your party of 16 people into groups of potentially 4 or less, depending on who votes what. Like maybe everyone just goes to one. That seems like it would make more sense. But I do appreciate like when they're showing the different mini games you then do. That it gave me a strong Fall Guys vibe, and I really like Fall Guys. So I could see like I was watching in real time how I could get sucked into this gameplay loop, and I was into it. So I'm excited for it. Is that how State Trial worked on the GameCube one, Kevin? Was it like you do the trial or you do the collection for 5 minutes and then they just dump you into one of a few different modes, or was it always the same thing at the end?
It's been a minute since I played it, but if I remember correctly, it was the same thing. Yeah, you have 5 minutes to do your city trial, get your bonuses, and then it then just shot you into one of the like the mini games.
One of the different modes.
Yeah, one of the different modes.
Yeah.
You never really got a heads up.
Just,
I don't recall.
Yeah, this one's interesting because it seems like it gives you a heads up or lets you like kind of sway a little, like, oh, you're more powerful in this, maybe you do that. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how kind of like the metas, plural, perhaps evolve around it. I will say 2 things. One, I don't know about this being like the November heavy hitter. The game looks great. The game's going to be fun. I can see myself getting sucked into the gameplay loop, but it feels lighter, smaller scale. I don't know. Feels like it should pair with another big game, but it has the prime November slot. Like if this came out in October, like 2 weeks before Pokemon Legends or something, or like Metroid came out in late November and this came out in like early December or early November, sure, like that for some reason in my head makes more sense. But this being the November game, I was a little surprised about. And I don't know what that means for Metroid. Like it could come in December, but I'm starting to think either Metroid's going to come in real hot at the end of the year or it's probably delayed till 2026. I mean, it's not at PAX West. They had a recycled demo from the Switch 2 experience that I went to in April. That was what was at Gamescom and Fan Expo. No knew anything about it. It's possible. Again, Kirby Air Ride, 5 days after I said we don't know anything about Kirby Air Riders, there it was, full blowout. So Nintendo could do that with Metroid 5 days from now. Maybe I'm just 5 days ahead of all these things. But yeah, it not being at PAX was kind of a red flag. And then Kirby taking November 20th was kind of red flag number 2. I don't think we're getting Metroid this year. Although, again, who knows? Nintendo's weird. But it was... Kirby in November was interesting to me. Yeah. What's a few more weeks or months after 8 years? Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I was thinking number 1 that I was kind of like, about Kirby. Thing number 2, I'm going to be honest, that logo. This is the most nitpicky thing. That logo.
Is that from the official
Why
final one?
is the logo so boring?
That's not the final one,
Like,
though.
what is... No, it is. It is. It's on the box art. It's on the demo booth. It's on the signage.
That could still...
It's on the
That
website.
could still be temporary.
No, it's
I
official.
think it's final.
Yeah.
It's final.
Wait, really?
It's so... Yes, exactly my reaction. Yeah, it's official. It mirrors how some of the menu design is in the sense of like the result screen stuff. They do similar, just big flat text.
Wow.
But man, it's boring. And like that little slight... I know, and that slight outer glow on the box art where they slap it on, just like I feel like I could do better in Photoshop, and I'm not a graphic designer. Like nothing against who did it. Like it's clear it was a directional choice, but yeah, it's just like
Even
Kirby
the box art
logos
itself
have such fun.
doesn't give me final box vibes. It feels like something
Maybe
you
they'll
would do as
pull
key
a
art.
Bonanza and swap something out.
Yeah, I
and
feel
it's just a
like
fake out,
they want to pull
but-
out more because, like, I don't know. It feels like
something about like
this is giving me like this is the demo version of the game. The full version will have
now.
it.
To be fair, the box art does very closely mirror the original Kirby Air Ride in terms of the ratios of stuff. Kirby's about as big, it's about as Warp Starry on that, but
But it still feels so
that
empty.
logo was
I
way
don't
better
know.
for Air Ride. Kirby has such cool logos. They have the thing with the star and the R and the like little air mouth like line, like wind lines and like the circle. Like they could do. I saw someone mock up a fake Air Riders logo that looked a million times better, even slapped on that exact same box art. It's just so weird how like blah. This
He's
logo
not
is.
angry.
It makes the game look more budget, which sounds strange. I know I was saying it's kind of a lighter, smaller scale game, and it probably is, but like the logo makes it feel even smaller. I don't know. It's a weird choice from Nintendo's point
Maybe
of view. I feel like.
that's where they literally ran out of money for the budget.
Yeah, they're like, oh well, Sakurai spent all the money doing all these crazy systems, so who wants to put a little outer glow in Photoshop on that logo? Yeah, I don't know, but that logo just every time it looks really nice on a white background, like on the presentation, and then the second it was on the box art, I'm like, no, like no. So maybe this is how they get people to buy more digital, is they just make the box art suck. They do game key cards and they take away good box art. But yeah, no, that's Kirby. I'm excited for that. And I think that might there was one other thing. Angel, you a couple months ago, we're going to bring up a question on the podcast, and you never did. And it has since evolved. The answer
Yeah,
has
totally.
evolved. And we're talking about Kirby.
And I
So
did
bring it
notice it all over Japan after because it's now
Mhm.
hard not to.
But
I
now
mean,
it's changed again.
even in all my merch that I have.
It's changed again, though. So
Oh,
let's fill everyone in on what the question is. Would you like to do the honors?
so what's the deal with Kirby? Like,
How's
For-
the merchandising work?
yeah, so for like the longest time, like, yeah, we've known Kirby. It's a big thing. We've known Kirby. It's incredibly marketable. But despite that, it always still felt a little weird that Kirby has a many dedicated Kirby-only stores, Kirby Cafe. It seems to have a much bigger push for merch than other Nintendo properties that maybe are not as big but feel like they should. I mean, Kirby has its own line of beauty products all over Japan, and you can find them also in like Japanese markets around maybe in your neighborhood. I know I've seen them here in Little Tokyo. So it starts to make me wonder, like, is this all Nintendo's doing, or does Nintendo not actually fully own Kirby, and this is kind of like,
Is it like a Pokemon company
yeah, like a
situation?
joint influence thing? So I just need to figure it out. And so what's the
And
verdict?
I did, and then we never talked about it, and then the situation changed. So it's a good thing. Those of you who look at your calendars closely may have noticed this episode's going live later in the week than usual. And it's a good thing it was delayed because this news broke last night as of this recording on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Um, it used to be that Nintendo and HAL Laboratory, co-owners of Kirby, had a joint venture called Warp Star Inc. That was the company in charge of all merchandising and IP rights and stuff for Kirby, for any sort of licensed material. That's how Kirby Right Back At Ya came to be. That's how the beauty products came to be, the Kirby Cafe. Like, it was all managed by this intermediary company that was half owned, much like Pokemon Company, half owned by Nintendo and half owned by the developers of the game. So, Game Freak and Creatures for Pokemon, HAL Lab for Kirby.
But then why
Yesterday,
is Warp Star Inc. not in
yes,
anything? Like I always see Nintendo/HAL, Nintendo/HAL, Nintendo/HAL.
because I think Warp Star Inc. is kind of a quiet background collaborator. They
Like
do the work, but
creatures, kind of.
like Preacher. Oh, well, yeah, kind of like Creatures, I guess.
Because Pokemon Companies was
That I
very
don't know
front
as well, but
facing.
basically,
Creatures seems to be
but
involved in it
Pokemon Company
somewhere.
chose to be very front facing. I think how it works is Nintendo and HAL own Kirby, and they give Warp Star Inc. exclusive rights to deal with giving out Kirby rights, if that makes sense. So Kirby's still a Nintendo and HAL property. Pokemon owns Pokemon, but Kirby is still a Nintendo and HAL property that they just use this intermediary half-owned company to disperse the goods, so to speak. Here comes the twist. Last night, Warp Star Inc. no longer existed. It has been renamed
Oh,
to Nintendo Stars Inc. It turns out, back on April 1st, at the start of this fiscal year for Nintendo, they fully acquired Warp Star Inc. It is no longer half owned by HAL, and it will now, as Nintendo Stars, be in charge of all licensing, merchandising, whatever you want to call it, rights distribution for anything relating to Nintendo's film projects. So not like just every Nintendo IP, but like the Mario movie, the Zelda movie, the eventual whatever other movie. If there's any merchandising or collaborations that will be happening with a Nintendo Pictures production, Nintendo Stars, who will continue to manage Kirby, will also be managing that. So there's your fun new twist as of 11:30 p.m. Pacific time last night.
oh, now it's just Nintendo.
So Nintendo owns the whole thing, and then this subsidiary is basically its own little group of people that will be handling all the licensing instead of it going through Nintendo's standard channels. And as a result, they also now fully own the Kirby license.
Wait, so what
Not
about
just they already co-own Kirby, but they own the licensing pipeline
and
for
that's
Kirby.
why HAL is not involved in Air Rider, or is it just because Sakurai likes to work with Bandai? I guess.
Well, HAL's not involved in every Kirby game, are
Yeah,
they?
but
Sometimes I think they just
usually
license it.
they're usually involved in all the biggest ones. I mean, they obviously did Forgotten Land. They
Yeah, I mean they
did.
did Forgotten Land, and by the way, Starcross World out now as of this right now, like literally right now, out now. Talk about burying one game with another, announcing Air Riders a week before Starcross
Yeah,
World came out.
apparently
Oof.
there's going to be an Alarmo update.
Yes, I saw that too. Yeah, they're going full Kirby right now. But yeah, I don't really know the how Bandai Namco Air Rider situation. I think it
You
would
don't know
probably have spun out of.
how it applies?
I don't know how. Yeah, I would guess it spun out of the fact that, again, it seems like Air Riders is using the Smash Ultimate engine, in which case that's something Bandai Namco built with Sora, which is Sakurai's company, and then Nintendo published. So I'm guessing they're just keeping it in-house in that regard. So they don't have to train anyone new on this entire engine, is my guess. But who knows? But yeah, Nintendo Stars, formerly Warp Star. Your one-stop shop for all Nintendo film and Kirby licensing agreements.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust this website. It's called like News SSB Crack. Actually, no, it sounds even more fake. But there
It
are
sounds like you're on a torrenting site. I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Where are you?
defense. I just Googled Kirby needs to try to find what you were talking about.
Warp Star?
and they're like, "This is hinting at a Kirby movie." I'm like, is it?
No, it's not. It's hinting at they have a great company that already has a great pipeline to do unique merch. And we saw the Mario movie have a very drip feed amount of merch that was also late, like after the movie by like 6 months in some instances. So Nintendo's shoring that up because they're planning to go harder on movies, and they're using the resource that already has shown it can do a ton of licensing deals very effectively. That's all it is. Maybe there's a Kirby movie, but it's not because of this. Like, it could be in tandem, but it's not this that's causing it. So, yeah.
You tell them.
Anyway, I just did. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap this now large episode?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Question,
How you doing
question
over there,
number 2.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
What, and this is a right-in answer, okay?
Oh,
What is
right-in.
my biggest pet peeve?
Oh, you've said it before on air. You said it into a recording that we then listened back to, so I should know it.
You typed it. I'm
Angel,
guessing in.
Do you want?
He said it's a right answer.
Well, you
Right.
could say it out loud.
So,
Oh,
say it out loud. Oh, you're writing it. Dude, you're so... This whole episode, you've been kind of forgetting there's like an audience on the other end of it. Oh, write it. And no one will
he
see
said
it.
it's a right answer, so I just confirmed.
He meant
and I thought,
it's a metaphorical writing.
I figured he would read it and tell us if any of us was right.
Actually,
because
you're right.
it's
I should have made a multiple choice. I'm sorry. All right.
Yay, we can fix it. Okay,
It's
multiple
all
choice,
good.
go.
Number 1 is getting spoiled. Whether it be a movie,
Okay.
TV series,
Oh, you already thought what I
video
wrote.
game. Specifically Bioshock Infinite.
I mean, I can relate specifically Skyward Sword.
No, you
Sure.
can't.
That's
That's not even close.
Angel did that to me.
Number 2 is when I have the door open to my room and somebody comes in, talks to me, and leaves the room and closes it, or vice versa. If the door is closed, somebody comes into my room, talks to me, and then leaves the door open on the way out. Or 3, inconsistencies with film box art on digital services.
Oh, it's 3. It's 3.
Angel?
Harkens back to one of our early episodes. It is 3.
Stick with spoilers.
It's 3.
It's definitely
Oh my god.
Yeah. Mission Impossible.
Mission
right?
Impossible specifically. I forgot.
Yep.
Oh man, I think it was either Amazon or Apple that I had the entire Mission Impossible series on video, and they did the thing where essentially they made each poster or the box art or whatever you want to call it, the thumbnail white with a little sprinkling of whatever the actual poster was for that movie. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think were all like that. 6 wasn't like that, but 7 then went back to the
they
thumbnail
went
style.
back with
yes,
it?
except for number
Oh, no.
6. What the?
Oh no.
What are we
That's-
doing?
yeah.
What are we doing?
I vote that we change this podcast to just be critiques of bad boxes. We got the Kirby Air Riders logo. We got everything with the Mission Impossible. Here's another. The small print on Switch 2 editions that's in that with that QR code that takes up a third of the box, and it's just like writing that you can't read unless you put the box like 6 inches from your face. Like, no. Just the QR code's enough, or put it on the back of the box. Like, why ruin nice box art? Like, in fact, the Switch 2 box in general, I know I've ranted about this when they first showed them. Like, it's too much red. It's too much. Too much.
It's too late to change it. Then you're gonna have like the first one.
Yeah, it's a little late now. Well, hey, tell that to PlayStation and Xbox. They both mid-generation have changed their box designs. I don't want them to do that because then I have the
point,
OCD
but
Kevin
those-
has about mismatched boxes. So
You can
we're
argue-
stuck with it. I get it.
PlayStation went kind of through a rebranding. Wasn't really sure what's going on with Xbox.
They also went through a rebranding. They know what to do with the Series X and S and Game Cloud and Game.
It was
Pass
the
and Cloud,
mid-generation
Xbox Cloud
refresh
and-
for both of them. I guess.
PS4 and PS5 stayed
Yeah.
consistently. The one that changed was the PS3.
Is 3.
Yeah, where they went
Yes,
from
it is
the
3. Yep.
Spider-Man fonts
Spider-Man to
now,
not Spider
yeah.
to just yeah.
To just PS.
Yeah, no, they found their thing, but I feel like Nintendo's not gonna do it. I don't want them to do it because then the boxes would be half mismatched, like halfway through generation. But like the Switch 2 was not as aesthetically pleasing of game box designs as the Switch 1 was. From the small print and the QR code to the extra red, like it was just not. It just wasn't it in the same way. So, so I feel your Mission Impossible pain is what I'm saying.
Jason is up 1-0 in
Yeah,
the
like a true friend.
Kevin Hate quiz. Is that what we call it? The Kevin Hate corner.
Oh, Kevin Hate quiz actually wasn't bad.
Yeah, we still use a Q.
Still say
We can still
alliteration.
use a K. I
Yeah.
mean,
Kevin Hate quiz. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, folks, to make sure you don't miss a future Kevin Hate quiz with a K, or if you're dying to hear my belated Dragon Drive impressions, or if you're specifically our listener Kurt, who saw us on Twitter planning to talk about 3 Days Grace's new album, but then we didn't get to it this episode. Good news, if you're any of those three types of people, we will be back with another episode. And to make sure you don't miss it, you can subscribe to us on whatever podcast app you're using, probably the one you're listening to us on. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube at Ram Nintendo. You can also follow us on Twitter at Ram Nintendo. You can follow us individually. You can see Angel's belated drawings he was talking about from Japan at some point on his Instagram, World of Weros. You can hear what Kevin thinks of things in the world and Mission Impossible boxes at KVN Gomi on Twitter and Blue Sky. And I'm just being my usual nerdy oversharing self on Twitter and Threads at JSR7. So I just kind of abruptly took us into the show notes. I'm abruptly taking us out of this episode. I am turning it over to Kevin for the final word.
Kurt, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I forgot to listen to the new 3 Days Grace album. It's my fault. I'm sorry.